All right, and we are live. Welcome everybody to Total Tabletop World Building, and once again we got our dev team here, and we're gonna be working through some of the stuff. If you guys are new to the channel and you like what you see, make sure you click the follow and notification bell, all that good stuff. You guys know how all that works. But we're going to be diving further into our project. But before we do that, let's get some introductions from our dev team.
I'm Bart. I recently joined. I'm very excited to work on this project. I'm going to be mostly handling mechanics side, working on the mechanics, testing them out, see what works, what doesn't, and report back every week.
Cool.
And if you've been watching for a while, I've been around. My name's Joe. Joined the community a while back. Joined on for world building as soon as I saw the chance to do so. Very excited to kind of see what develops. We've already gone far beyond what the original concept was. It's just getting more interesting every week. So glad to be here, and we're hoping to bring some of you along as well.
Awesome. And my name is Sean. I go by SteelX on the channel, and lead developer for this project, but I do some other things. We got some great content on the channel if you guys are new. So Sundays we have Ages Past, which is a 5th edition homebrew game run by AJ. 6:30 p.m. Pacific. Tuesdays we have Horsemen of the Apocalypse. That's run by myself. And then Wednesdays we have Rise of Unity, which right now we're going through our Session 0 arc. So we've done our first game, which these are recorded and they're put on our YouTube, but that is going to be start live streaming same time on Wednesday nights once the Session 0 arc is over. And I think we have 2 or 3 more games we're going to do before this campaign kicks off. Let's see, and then we got this world building on Saturday mornings, which might be needing to be changed. Real life scheduling thing has come up where we still got a few more weeks of this time slot here, but we need to look at when we want to move it, because that is not going to work for myself. But we want to be able to try to keep everybody. I know schedules can be tight, I don't know when it's going to be, but if you guys join our Discord, you can see what the final decision is if you don't want to wait for the next week. We are also taking applications if anybody is wanting to join our dev team for this. We're going to be doing some orientation for somebody after this is over, for somebody who's interested in joining the team. So yeah, if you guys want to do that as well, we definitely are looking for help. Whether you want to be on or off camera, stuff like that. So yeah, it's gonna be a big project. We got lots of things lined up for the foreseeable future, but tonight they were wanting to go over mechanics, and that is a really good thing for us to cover. Of course, everything is subject to change. I'm sure everything we have will probably change in some capacity, but yeah, having some rough ideas. We have some original concepts and then some new proposed ones, so we'll talk about the pros and cons of those, maybe make a decision, maybe not, I don't know. We'll talk about attributes, how stats work, what kind of base system we're going to use. Are we use a D6, we use D20, D100, go over the pros and cons of that, maybe actually take some time to look at some actual existing systems and see what they do and just kind of read through them real quick and do we come up with our own? Do we have you roll 1d20, a d8, and a percentile die backwards? I don't know. Like, do we make up our own? So we will look at all of that as well. Do you guys have any announcements or anything important you wanted to say before we get started?
No, not yet. Nothing official.
Okay.
More news coming, maybe. Keep watching.
Okay. Alright, so let's dive in. So this is episode 3. If you guys haven't caught up on the last 2 episodes, they are archived on YouTube, which will get you guys caught up on all the other stuff. But we're ready to actually start just developing week to week instead of just doing lower dump. Okay, so attribute scores and base scores and secondary attributes. I guess we can start there and start working our way out. So tentatively, how it was started was with the normal 6 attributes that are used in D&D: strength, dex, con, wisdom, intelligence, charisma. There's a lot of other things in the game that have a theme of 5. So that is another aspect that Bart was proposing, was we combine strength and dexterity into one physical stat. So it maintains that 5. I'm okay with that, but we did talk about wanting to run all of these skills based on 2 attributes. And I was looking into some other systems, and some of them use like strength times 2 and dex times 2. So it's not only how they all are combined together, it's themselves doubled, which is kind of cool actually, because there are some things that you would think about as a solid strength check, like for example an athletics. That's not really strength and something else. That's 100% strength. And you can kind of think of ones for the other stats. So went through and did up a little color-coded thing real quick just to give us an example. So if we stuck with 6, we might go to 5, I don't know, but did a little diagram showing how they would all connect. So the darker ones just outside of them are that same stat doubled. And so I was kind of using that to kind of balance out all the other skills. So the benefit of this one is the 6 attributes are familiar. Most players are going to know what they are and how they apply. So that's a benefit. Another benefit is it's going to give us 21 unique combinations for skills. It was 21, right? That's what I said originally.
I think so, yeah.
World building. Because it's
That
6.
is what I counted.
Yeah, 6 plus 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1. Okay, yeah. So that'll give us a lot more skills that are unique. That is one thing I was really liking, was not having multiple skills be the same thing. Now, is it terrible to have them double up on stuff? No, it's not a big deal, but I just thought it was kind of just mechanically clean to have all of them have one and don't have any of them that don't have one. So for example, like charisma and con, to not having a skill just because we don't need it, to me it would make sense to have a system that everything works. Does that make sense? Where there's something for everything, every combination possible. There be an actual skill, and not it just being a filler skill just so it completes the system. like actually have it be something in game that is applicable. Does that make sense? So,
It does make. Go ahead.
no, you're answering your question.
It makes sense. For me, it has to be based in realism. So we have to make skills that really fit, like con and charisma. In what type of situation would you use that? Con and charisma will give me a feeling of like keeping up something charismatic, maybe a performance, like or
Mm-hmm.
something in that regard, like something where it costs a lot of exertion, a lot of energy
Mm-hmm.
to perform this task. Like it's not just a quick lie or a quick persuasion. Like say something, a smile, and see if they believe it. It like con and charisma is an extended something, an extended skill. If you base it in realism,
Mm-hmm.
the question is what exactly is it? And the question also is, does every skill combination have a good skill to attribute to it?
I do
Like,
like the cleanness of having each combo having their own. We'll just have to kind of go through them all and make sure they're a skill
Sure.
that we're going to use and need. But it does just kind of present an easy thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do like the idea of sticking with that fives and tens theme we've got, but I think the advantage of keeping the six that people know might outweigh that.
Mm-hmm.
Just because anybody who's heck, most people who've heard of D&D will pick this up and go, "Oh, this is vaguely familiar,"
Right.
and then anyone who's played it knows exactly what these stats are for.
Right. And we can look at the five thing. I'm not like if that is ultimately the better option, we can go with it. But I think that taking an entire attribute out almost ties your hands for things you're able to do more so. If anything, I would like a system that had maybe an additional attribute. You know what I mean? Because
Mm.
we got starships and magic and lots of different things that's going to be going on. It's honestly a much bigger system than what D&D has on its own, just because it's old tech. You know, like there's no future technology, and we got piloting and hacking computers versus just being able to operate them, or healing people isn't just lay on hands. It's biohacking with nanites, and everything is more complex. So honestly, I don't even know if six is enough. So, but we can look at five since it is fitting in the five thing, and then we can kind of compare it out.
I
Um,
will say, looking at
well,
what you had mocked up, that physicality instead of strength and dex, I liked just the concept. Just thinking back to any fighter I've ever played, you got to pick one between strength and dex. You don't have enough stats to bump them up unless you're doing a dice roll for stats and you get real lucky. But rather than having to say, I do everything because I'm nimble or I do everything because I'm strong, you're athletic. However, you envision that, it works. So there is an argument to be had for combining strength and dex that made sense in some ways for me, but
right.
I do agree that the six familiar is a good option.
Okay. What are
the
some?
six the six familiar is like it's better. Why? Because it is more versatile.
Mm-hmm.
I do agree with that. The reason I made a five system is because on stream you talked about it and you wanted to keep a five system.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked where I could cut a corner, so to make it a five system.
Sure.
Now you're saying maybe need more. I I'm thinking about it. Base 10 different attributes, like keeping it in the to combine the five system and the versatility. Like if we can get to 10 different skills,
Mm.
like for example, you can make one elemental magic. Like why should your magic be determined on your intelligence alone, or your charisma alone, or your wisdom alone? Like intelligence, okay, that makes sense, but you can also add an attribute. Yeah, you can add an attribute for elemental magic. You can put in a something, an attribute on how good you are under pressure. Like, how good are you in combat when there is a lot of pressure, when you have to perform under pressure? Like, you can make an attribute for that. That's two more. Uh, then we're at 8, so then we need 2 more to get to 10, and then we have
Yeah, I
the
get what you're
in
saying.
the
That'll
in
give
the
us 55 skill combinations, though. That is
Yeah.
way too many. Um, we could always do the what I talked about earlier with well, we just don't need to fill them all. Then what's the point of having it all? Like I like the
yeah.
idea of having things be woven, and although it would be cool to stick with that 5 theme, I think some things can't be 5. Like we don't have to look at how to justify everything being 5. For an example, the elemental affinities. Yes, there's 5 of them because there's 5 elements, but at the moment we're looking at 3 tiers to them. If there was 5 of each one, then that would affect how often you'd have to be able to rank them up. You know what I mean? Like putting 5 into everything just to do it, to me, doesn't make sense. Yes, it's cool, like having a theme of 5.
It's
Um,
worth looking at each in each spot, but it's not
sure,
always going to make sense.
right.
If we ended up doing a 10 base stat system, we would just probably have to look away from doing a combo of 2 stats for every skill to have a manageable skill tree. Otherwise, we could keep a lower number of stats and keep this idea. Though the question I have is the extension of this is that maybe there are skills that need 3 stats. I don't know if I want to go down that rabbit tunnel, but
Oh,
just looking at it, I was like, well, why couldn't you have a skill that needed strength, con, and intelligence? I don't know what it would be, but that opens up a whole new bucket of worms and adds a whole lot more skills.
maybe the starship one, because we hadn't looked at any of the starship ones. What if those took 3?
Oh,
Yeah,
Because you're
but
gonna have to apply like intelligence and dex into all of them, because one of them was the toggling the sticks off. Well, you can type, swiping things, but then there's also the computer usage and the piloting knowledge and everything. So far what we have for the tech stuff was, where did we put it? Because I was retyping it up.
you had let's see, you had computer for dex and intelligence, and yeah, that's about it. Yeah, maybe strength, intelligence for hand-eye coordination.
So if we did the intelligence dex, how many other combinations would we get with the other one?
I
I wouldn't have to be just those two, but
assuming you did those, then there would be 4 other stats. So you'd have 4 combos.
Yeah. But I would say like Joe, what Joe liked. Let's combine. I am for combining strength and dexterity into one stat. So then we have 5, and then adding 1 or 2 more to round out the whole
mm,
skill tree, because like for yeah, if you're gonna be a soldier. And you're like, okay, I need to be strong to wear this armor, but I need to be dexterous to shoot this pistol. Like what am I gonna do? Or am I gonna just focus on strength, wear big bulky armor, and gonna hit people with a stick or a stick with electricity on it?
there's a big difference between just raw power and finesse. Like, look at a gymnast versus a bodybuilder.
Oh yeah, there is a lot of difference,
Like the
and you can.
capabilities of them are massively different. Like a octagon fighter, or like WWE versus a Shaolin monk. You know what I mean? Like you're tying both of them into one. But they
Yeah, but
operate differently.
at the other side, If you are a bodybuilder, you have a certain amount of uh, how do you say that, capabilities compared to somebody that's not trained. As a bodybuilder, you still are technically more dexterous than me, a couch potato, so to say. Like like with a lot of the one comes a little bit of the other. If you're very dexterous and a
I get what you're saying,
how do
but
you
not necessarily. For instance, they can't even scratch their backs because their muscles are so big. Like their flexibility for someone who's just fucking ripped is not actually higher. One does not assume the other. Yes, a physically fit person will be stronger and more dexterous. Agreed.
yeah,
But
but if you look at it
look at
like, oh,
Usain Bolt, super dexterous, right?
yeah,
Faster
but
than
look at it.
anybody, but he's not fucking any stronger than me or you.
Oh, look at his legs. His legs are like bigger than most bodybuilders' legs. The power he has in his legs, the strength he has in his legs to propel himself at that speed. Yeah, just look up a picture of his legs. They're like quads upon quads.
I
For
get
him,
both sides of it. Mechanically, it's more convenient for somebody who wants to do something that might require both. That's why I like the idea. Is mechanically, it makes making a fighter so much easier. But Sean's got a very valid point. You're
I'm playing devil's advocate. No matter what side, I'm gonna pitch the other
sure,
side. Whichever
yeah,
one comes through the scrutiny. It's not. Don't take it personal. you
no,
know.
but it's a valid counter argument. Is
yeah.
that the gymnast would have a high dex and
Mm-hmm.
not quite as high a strength.
Right.
Like
But
for me,
is it a
for
big
me,
enough discrepancy for the stat, though? I mean,
for
is it
for me,
close
for
enough?
me, for me, it is like this. If you're gonna build a warrior, like the best warriors were not big bodybuilders or strongmen. Some were, but if you look at, like, let's say Game of Thrones, the Mountain was still, it was described as very dexterous for his size, and that's why he was so good in a duel. Yes, he was beaten in the TV show by somebody that was so dexterous that he could avoid his swings, but he was still mentioned to be more dexterous than you would have expected for somebody his size. And that's for me. If you're building a soldier, or like if you're building a warrior or an adventurer in like D&D, you want both. Like it's not bad to have one over, like have one lower than the other. Well, that's with all the stats, but um, like it's more a balanced character. Like if you take it realistically, the best warriors in history were not the bodybuilders. They were well-rounded, both strength and dexterous, because they had to, yes, hit hard enough to damage their opponent, but also be quick enough to deflect blows that would hurt them.
Right, and that's why I think having them be separate reinforces the point you just made, where you have to be both to be the top. They both come into play. Um, that's kind of why, because it's not just the bodybuilder metaphor. It's also looking at the dexterity side. Say there's a really quick young race, or a small child, a kid who plays soccer, like he just runs all the fucking time, or he's used to doing parkour or whatever, like running through the streets to avoid the police or something. Doing that kind of thing, or sneaking, or the thief pickpocket kind of thing, where you're really good at the sleight of hand, or the, you know, getting, just moving in and out. If we combine strength and dexterity into one, that person's stat will be up, but they could be a fucking beanpole. You know what I
Oh, no,
mean?
you're right. And for like the reason why I'm on the side of combining them is it's easier for game balance. It is easier to build a character. It's representative of a well-rounded character. Uh, and the reason why is because how D&D does it, I don't like Dex. Dex is too powerful. If we're gonna do strength and Dex, we have to make sure that strength and dex both get equal amount of attention on like armor or uh, how well you move. Like they have to have equal amount of bonuses, so so it's like a choice. Like if I make a fighter and I roll bad, then I'm probably gonna choose dex over strength because it gives me more. So if you're gonna do both, and I like to have them both have a the same amount of impact on the character.
Mm.
That's why I like to combine them so you don't have that problem. If we do them separate, then we have to find a way to make them equally as powerful as or as useful.
Okay.
I think a decent answer to that problem, because I mean you're not wrong. Dex is probably the most powerful stat in the game, just because you can use damage and defense for D&D anyway. But if armor is not stat related, if armor is just equipment,
Gear. Okay.
yeah, then strength and dex are both just impacting the skills and whichever one you choose to use for your weapon, whether it's a melee or a ranged. But then you don't have to worry about always choosing dex or never wanting to sacrifice dex, because your
Mm-hmm.
armor, your shields, whatever we go with, is going to be a money dump, not a stat dump.
When I look at
Yeah,
this predicament, I think of it from a game master standpoint. You have two characters. You have a little gnome and a giant kin, and they are both going to be very different of what they can do and what they can't do, things that will challenge them and things that won't. If we keep them separate and I say, all right, you both have to lift something heavy, obviously one of them is going to be based on their stats, right? Because that's the whole point of having stats, is to assist in the role playing, helping
yeah.
to exaggerate or bring to life the challenges that you would have as a character. Here's your strengths and here's your weaknesses, right? Versus those two having another challenge of um, having to do something dexterous. Some, if they're both one stat, they'd
Yeah,
be the
no,
same score but for different reasons. So on a game side, they would both have the same score for each of those two different situations, and those kinds of things come up frequently in a game long term. Um, does that make sense what I'm saying? Like the
oh
gnome
yeah.
should be able to lift as equal as the giant can when he shouldn't be able to, but then the giant can should be able to do the dexterous stuff that he normally couldn't do.
Oh no, yeah, you're right. Like I said, I looked where I could cut a corner
Sure.
to get a five system, and the reason why I like that is because in D&D Dex is too powerful. But if you can fix that problem, and the idea I had for that was make most armors not dependent on your Dex score uh, in their defensiveness, and make some armors specifically have a strength requirement because they're so heavy.
Mm.
And then
Because we're
give
because we're gonna have other types of armor in our game too. Because we're talking about magical armor maybe, or like shields. So it's some kind of technological armor. So if
oh yeah.
anything, that would come from like the spell casting side. So it'd be a more of an int or a wisdom side of giving armor. So it's not all thrown onto one stat.
Yeah, we should have different kind of armor. Like you should have armor that is real armor that's just some material between you and the one that's attacking you, but you should also have armor that is shield based, but you have a generator on your back and need to keep that fueled, and the shield can take so many hits before it is gone, and uh your defense is baseline. Like if your shield generator runs out, like you're only wearing maybe, I don't know, an overall that or a harness that
Mm-hmm.
houses the whole thing. Like yeah, the shield generator may be more powerful, But if you run out or it gets destroyed, say bye-bye to all your defense. So we can play with that.
What do you guys think about the relationship between wisdom and intelligence? The same argument could be made of those two versus strength and dex. Very different. There's a reason why it's two different stats. They measure completely different types of mental acuity. Um, but it's worth talking about since we talked about it with strength and dexterity. One could argue that strength and dex could be one stat. Well, one could also argue that wisdom and intelligence could be one mental stat. What do you guys think about that?
There are
I,
some situations where I'd argue where it's weird to separate them. Like, there's some skills D&D wise attached to wisdom, like why, like perception. I don't know what that's to do with being wise. Just as good your archer. I guess it's an awareness is what they're talking about. Um, but some things like animal handling, you could argue that if I know more about animals, I should be better at it
hmm.
rather than just in like an innate sense of what horses like. But then there are situations where you're like, yeah, there's a definite case to be made for street smarts versus book smarts. So I think it's fine to keep those two separate as long as we just kind of define what, especially if we're doing this kind of strict assignment of skills to stats. I think that my weird squeaky bits of intelligence and wisdom in 5e go away because it's not, well, this one shouldn't be int, it should be wiz or vice versa. It's this one is this one, and there's no
Sure.
overlap.
For me, like what I did in the concept documents is change wisdom to willpower. Like how strong of mind are you? And then you could shift some of the like wisdomy, intelligency, gray area to intellect or intelligence, and then keep the things that have to do with control over your own mind, like resisting fear, resisting certain spells as willpower. And when you get hit, like you can actually, if your willpower is high enough, you can shake off a debilitating blow, so to say. Like how strong are you? Like how master like master over your body with your mind are you? Uh, to do things with your body. Like some people uh, get stabbed in the abdomen and go lay on the ground crying, and some people get stabbed in the abdomen and just continue fighting until they just collapse.
So the, yeah. With the things I typed up real quick, I threw those together real quick as the combinations. Looking at the doubling up things, the wisdom plus wisdom, I actually put will. So I like that idea. If we had the intelligence side just be anything's you could know, whether it be books or street smarts, the gut feeling, the intuition, the little cricket on your shoulder that chirps the right answer. Like there's different things and areas that could inform you of making a decision. It could be experience, it could be knowledge, it could be, a bunch of different things. But yeah, they could all be grouped into one, and I think it makes sense. If the wisdom side was the resisting, so kind of like how constitution is the resisting of the physical against you, the willpower be the mental resiliency that you have. So it's the mental con.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Like, s- yeah, you might not have a high constitution if you go full spellcaster, but you can back that up with your willpower, like your will to go, to
So
keep going.
so like mechanically, if somebody was trying to persuade or seduce or deceive or I guess a better comparison would be to like command or to make you do something against your will, it would go against your willpower.
Yeah.
What do you think, Joe?
I like that. I was actually thinking because when you mentioned adding a stat, it made me think of Marvel's system. I forget if they have a new tabletop. Their one from the '70s uses face rip, so it keeps strength and dex separate as agility and strength, but it adds a stat for the F in face rip is fighting, where you can separate the combat aspect of strength and agility into your actual ability to hit things and just kind of make dex less important as far as being overall kind of what you do. And then they use endurance to show taking a hit, and then they have armor just with gear. But then their mental attributes very much line up with D&D, reason, intellect, and psyche. So it's intelligence, wisdom, and then they combine like the charisma and dealing with magic aspect into one stat.
Mm.
But the idea that will is kind of the fortitude of the mind. Yes.
Well, the other thing that we're having to address is the massive amount of science and technology interface into the game system opposed to D&D. It almost feels like we're having to fit all of those things into these attributes when I'm almost thinking it should have its own. I don't know
Logic.
what to call it, but yeah, you like if like dealing with computers and dealing with a keypad that you've never seen and having to insert a card and the interface of piloting a spaceship and all these other things that one would do in future technology, a teleportation pad or um, the mag trains on Solaris 8. So you guys are going to hijack those or something, understanding how that works. Like, where do those fit in these six? Or does it feel like we need to have its own thing to group all of those things in?
I mean, I think it's fair enough to say intelligence would cover a lot of that, but then you just run the risk of intelligence being the new dex,
Exactly.
where you need
Yeah,
intelligence.
the thing is also with that is that you don't have enough intelligence skills if you combine it with other skills. So a skill like logic, which is also a mental based skill, that would separate like what wisdom and intelligence were. You separate intelligence in two. Logic to do everything with digital, like computers. Everything that's digital is logic, and then everything that is not digital is intelligence. I don't know if logic is the best name, but that's what I came up with from Shadowrun. In Shadowrun, they use logic for interfacing with like the Matrix, which is their intranet, their all expensive internet that connects everything. Like you need logic plus agility, which is Dex, to do certain things. You need logic plus willpower to, because you actually tapped into it with your mind. So you need logic plus willpower to be to resist certain things. Because instead of attacking your device, they attacking your mind directly. That's the Shadowrun system. But we can take inspiration from that, of course.
I mean, if we added a tech skill, part of me wants to find the difference why it wouldn't be intelligence, but mechanically it makes some sense to separate them. It would add 7 skills to the combinations, but that's not untenable. 28 skills isn't
Well,
ridiculous. It's on the higher end of what we would probably want, but
I'm not opposed to it.
I think like it
Be
is
28. Yeah,
reasonable.
28 skills.
I think it is reasonable to add a skill that is has to do with our technology, because that's what you don't have in D&D or Pathfinder or whatever. And you need something like, yeah, split the intellect up in intelligence, just raw intelligence, and something, and your skill with tech, call it tech or digitality. We have to find a good name, but how good are you at tech? Like, you don't have to be the smartest person to be very good with computers and those interfaces.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can have learned all those things. Yeah, you might make it a skill based on intelligence. The problem is then you get a load of skills and you probably have more than six that have to do with interfacing with other things. And then you have to double up, which you didn't want.
Yeah, we'd have to sit here and think of some skills, but already like logic, if we're going to use that, and intelligence could just be technology.
So what would be a
So
good seventh attribute name then?
I don't hate logic.
Yeah, me neither.
I mean, you could call it tech or technomancy
It almost
or
seems like tech would be a
computers.
subset of logic, though,
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
and not
thinking
the
when he
other way
said
around.
logic, I thought logic and intelligence, the skill would be tech.
like how many different things you can, like intelligence you can divide in multiple things, like book smarts, street smarts, logic, problem solving. You have many different things in which you can divide intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And um yeah, we
Are we
need.
going to. Logic says computers to me. Are we using this new skill
Yes,
to be advanced tech or all tech? So
I would
would it
I
be
would say
mechanics?
everything that has a computer has to do with logic.
But
Yeah,
if you
logic.
had like a, I don't know if anywhere would have just a machine that doesn't have, it's not advanced enough to be a computer. Would we keep that as intelligence, or
That
would
would
this new skill
be
cover it?
that would be a skill called mechanics, like a mechanic that works on a car. That is still probably a maybe an intelligence dex skill or something in that regard. Yeah, I would say everything that has either an interface or a computer should be have to do with logic.
So is the seventh attribute? If say we add, I like the idea of adding one. What do we call that? Should it be logic or tech? Should it be
Tech.
on the tech side or should it be illogical? Because
Uh,
logical things could also come from wisdom too. Like
yeah, it could.
logically, the idea would be like this is the best course of action. You know what I
But
mean? So that would kind of be competing with wisdom.
yeah, but the logic comes more from the side of that all computers use logic systems.
But
That's where more the name comes from than more from logical thinking.
if you want to
Like,
separate the idea of logic, we'd call it binary, just computer code or coding.
yeah, yeah, coding or like how Shadowrun calls it decking. Like you're a decker, you interface with technology. Yeah, there is a better name than logic. Logic was the first thing that came to mind.
Sure.
Tech should be a subset of that skill. Like how good are you, and then divide it in certain different techs.
Is it, is tech not a good attribute itself? I mean, because there's the computer side of tech, there's the piloting side of tech, there's the mechanics side of
It's
tech.
not bad. I just pictured technology itself being a skill, which means we might have
Yeah.
a skill that's uses say tech and intellect, and the skill is technology, just as a general catch-all. Not a bad thing. Uh,
It's just that I don't really like tech as like a skill. It's but yeah, I also don't have a good name for it. But like we don't have enough a name right now. We can say if we use that, if we use a seventh skill and we use it for technology or for interfacing with computers, then we have that mechanic down. We can brainstorm, like we can come up with names all week and come up with a good one and discuss it next week. But if we say we're gonna do seven and these seven, then we can start building on that. Like
Oh,
the name is not that important, but I think we should go with seven, and the seventh is
well,
it has
I
to do with
need to have a name to
technology.
type down as a placeholder. So I mean,
I mean, you call it tech, and if we change our
Call it
mind, we
tech.
right,
change our
right.
mind.
That's where the conversation. It's just so we
Okay.
can figure out what to put in.
Okay.
So we can put tech in there for now. Uh,
And that's good because then tech and dex is already piloting, which we need.
right.
Um,
And tech, TECH, the abbreviation is TEC, so still tech. I kind of like that. Tech is tech. Like Z or Z and Z.
Zed and
Everything's Zed.
Zed.
All right, so okay, let's do a quick abbreviation of these. So strength is going to be your
I'm just
physical.
picturing a Zed being your pilot. That cannot be allowed. Just hello, every Zed. This is your Zed speaking. Please remain Zedded in your Zeds until we have Zed from the Zed platform. What? Just translations. Stay in your chair.
All right, so
If
that
you look at Z of the Z, then you can see Z, and if you look at Z of the Z, then you can see Z. If you look Z,
A Zed tour guide is amazing.
yeah,
okay,
and you can just notice what is unimportant, like Z platform, Z platform is not important because it is not Z.
Okay, so I'm adding in all
I
of
think Z should go under the advanced races.
con plus tech. Okay, I'm adding all the tech ones in, and then we can start looking at the skills and how they would.
Oh, tech with double C, like thick. It's tech,
And
not normal tech. It's tech.
this one would be wisdom plus tech, and then last would be tech plus tech.
Oh, I forgot about the doubling up. Yeah, tech plus tech.
That could be your technology.
Yeah. I was gonna say tech and into. I was thinking it's technology, but yeah, tech and tech, probably technology.
Yeah, but
Technology. That is.
is technology too broad?
Your mom's too broad.
I mean, I think
What?
that ends up being the way for all the double up ones. Like
Yeah.
athletics is pretty catch all for running, climbing.
Oh, yeah, strength per strength makes sense that this athletics, but tech per technology, yes, it makes sense. But at the other side, is it too big? Is it, like if you're just gonna throw all technology on under it, like then you're like, oh, I have, I don't know, a plus 60 in technology, so everything that has to do with technology I can use technology for.
Be all the catch all because like tech and dex was a pretty solid choice for piloting. So if you're going to be a pilot, you wouldn't get to use your technology on that. But I see the point.
All right. Well, we can actually comb through all of these real quick. So now we have 28 stat combinations, which I think is a good amount of variance, but it's also not too many to where you're like, what the fuck? You know, like too many.
Yeah, it's a solid.
It's not 56 like on
Right. There's a
10.
big difference between 50 and 20. So, uh, okay. So,
Strength plus tech. What would strength plus tech say? Oh, um, strength plus tech could be the for the armor wearing, because you're wearing heavy armor, and that is technology based. You need to have strength plus. You have to have a certain strength plus tech score
so your
to wear
ace,
to
your armor class,
to wear
maybe?
this. No, no, no. As a skill, like you have to have this certain height in the skill to wear this certain armor. Like you need to know how to. You have to be physical enough to wear this armor. Next to that, your tech has to be high enough to interface with the armor. Like think about Jarvis, like you brought up last week. Like you have to be
I
trained in
like
Jarvis
I
to
like that
use
concept that we
Jarvis.
have like power armor.
Yeah.
Though I mean we have the skill has to be applicable outside of just a requirement. But I think if we make it mechanics that fits that bill, it's the idea of you physically repairing technology and you understanding machines to that point would let you wear power armor
Mm.
if we had such a thing in the game.
So, what would a skill be
So
called that
engineering.
governs that?
Engineering's good. I was thinking mechanics, but those are
No,
both.
mechanics should be something like mechanics should
Or
be.
dexterous?
No, mechanics should be something that is doesn't have to be technology. Like if you have an old school car, like the cars we have now, unless you have a Tesla, you can repair those with mechanics. Where um, engineering fits more with actually interfacing with technology. Like you have software engineers, you have computer engineers, Like the engineer is a little bit more in that direction, I think.
Sure.
I kind of picture engineering more of a intelligence or wisdom because an engineer problem solves. That's pretty much their whole job. Yeah, they sometimes build things. Yes, they sometimes design things, but an engineer looks at problems and solves them. So it's like this mountain or this thing and there's a cliff, we got to build a bridge across. It's the problem and it needs to be solved. Or putting up a building, we need to build a thing to, yeah, like a lot of times things get built, um, but it all starts with problem solving, which isn't strength. So
Yeah, you have the other engineers that are indeed based in problem solving and designing, and then you have the either the builders or the mechanics or whatever that build the actual thing that is designed, or the welders that actually build the thing that is designed by the engineer. That is true. However, I like
like an
put it.
architect would be the only conceptual, and then there's builders or whatever, welder, like the tech side. The
Well, an architect employs how do you say that, civil engineers that know how
right, but they
like
don't do
the
the building. When I'm saying engineering can kind of cover both. It can be the
yeah.
building and the design.
But we have the general idea. Like can't think of a name, so one, two, three.
We could split the concept of engineers and call strength and I'm sorry, tech and intellect design. The design half of the engineer, call the other one manufacturing or building,
Ooh, I like manufacture.
Yeah, yeah. Strength plus tech would be manufacture, like
or
actual.
tinkering if you want to use a less like
Yeah, but tinkering is
civics word.
too D&D, I think.
Yeah, I think manufacturing is like a future tech tinker. Yeah, so if doing a tinker check would be a manufacture check, that makes sense because it'd be
Yeah,
physically applying the knowledge. Yeah, okay,
yeah.
manufacturing works good.
Let's go with charisma plus tech.
Uh,
That's another hard one.
so what was the word we just took out? That was engineering.
Yeah,
Do we want to put that in wisdom tech?
either wisdom or intelligence. One
Which
of
Well,
those two would say.
I would say strength. Like if strength plus tech is manufacturing, then strength plus intellect is mechanics of mechanical engineering.
So yeah, we'll call it either engineering or design.
okay, so which is which?
So I see that you have strength plus intellect open, which could be
That was the hand-eye
mechanic.
coordination, which was stupid. I just typed something
Yeah.
into the.
So that's where we can put, like, if strength plus tech is manufacturing, the technology side manufacturing, then intellect plus strength could be manufacturing, a different name, like manufacturing, but then in the non-technology side, so the analog side, like that could be
Craftsmanship,
engineering,
crafting,
craftsmanship, something that direction.
Mmm.
repair.
I would say mechanical engineering could be a good start. Then you have both engineer and mechanical.
I mean, that's a huge skill. Like, give me a mechanical engineering skill check. You like it's too much. You want to have be like one thing.
It's a long, like, then call it engineering. Give me an engineering skill check.
I
Okay.
think charisma and tech would be artificial intelligence. Is my best guess.
Probably
So
spell
I
that
don't know
wrong.
if we plan on
Well,
including.
it should be, yeah, it should show technology in communication. Like we had the envoy on the spaceship, something with sensors or something, interfacing with sensors. Like, yeah, maybe it's interfacing. Charisma plus tech is interfacing. Your ability to interface with your voice with technology. Like you can either
Mm-hmm.
just type it up, be slow, or be like Jarvis and be very nice to Jarvis, so Jarvis does what you say. Like maybe some artificial intelligence develops some personality, so your ability to talk to it in a certain way gives you an advantage in getting something done from the AI. But that's also world building, so I don't know if you had something like that in mind.
Trying to think of. I get what you're saying. I'm just trying to think of if there's another word that fits better.
I mean, you could just call it communications. I don't know. I'm trying to think
Contact.
how often that's going to come up as an actual skill check. But then again, not all of them are going to. Animal handling is an infamous example of a skill that just doesn't happen.
I took it
Unless
out.
you,
Actually, like I had it originally, but I was like, "When are we gonna do it? Space whales? Like it's not gonna come up. If it does,
It'll come up once on Avalon when you're dealing with the giant labor beasts, and then
right?"
never again.
And with
yeah.
that, you could just use presence or something. You know, like other things.
Unless you write into the modules yet you're gonna throw pet after pet after pet at the party. So they have a menagerie at some point if they choose some pets. Then it comes in handy, but like, yeah.
While
Um,
we're thinking on that one, Dex
I,
and
w- I
Tech,
would
I
just
think,
say
is
like,
piloting.
Dex what?
Pretty, Dex and Tech, I think, is pretty solidly piloting.
Yes, piloting. Yes.
And I think Int and Tech could be programming.
Intertech, yeah, Intertech should be programming. Uh, but like for, yeah, you have piloting, but piloting. It could also like targeting, like how using guns could also be tech plus dex, unless we want to go with three different stats for the spaceships.
Well, targeting could be tech int though too.
Yeah, that's what tech int.
And then we have tech
Uh,
wisdom too.
yeah, but tech int is more like programming, writing your own programs on technology fits better.
So that would be hacking.
Yeah,
Hacking, yeah, programming,
hacking's a
hacking,
good. That's a good word for him, Tech.
yeah,
I was
in
originally
tech.
thinking Wisdom Tech be like a repair skill, but it wouldn't be a
Well,
bad idea to have a gunnery system.
if we make wisdom a willpower, then yeah, it could fit for gunnery. Like it is just how persistent are you at trying to shoot the enemy?
Well, if we were talking about the wisdom being willpower of the resilience of wisdom attacks, I almost see it as like a shielding thing then.
Yeah, yeah. If you make it willpower, it's more like defending yourself. So it would be like
Resiliency
willpower.
plus technology side to me, that's shields.
I mean, it makes sense as a tech skill. Shields.
Yeah. Then we have con plus tech. Yeah,
So do
to
I
make
just
con
put shields in?
I
shielding.
would,
Yeah,
yeah.
Okay.
protect. Yeah, shielding, shields, protecting
Because
something
that
in
could be
that
on a
regard.
starship, and that could also be on a individual side too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So like the
Then
drones that apply the thing or whatever, you could do a shielding skill check, and that'll give you the strength of the shield instead of, or something like that. Instead of it
Sure.
just being
yeah.
you get 7 temp HP, you know, like make a skill check.
Yeah. Then con plus tech make that targeting or gunnery. Like it doesn't make too much sense, but we need a gunnery skill. Like what would con plus tech otherwise be?
Maybe shielding should go here then.
As an
Shield.
endurance thing. I was just thinking. I don't know if we want to include like the idea of engines. Maybe an engineering check will let you deal with the engines. Because just that's the only thing is a power source is what's going to determine the endurance of a machine.
Mm.
Well, we have already engineering. We have on strength and intelligence.
Yeah, so if engineering is going to cover being able to manipulate the engine, then we don't have to worry about that. It makes
But let
sense
me
let it
look
go.
at engineering. What did we say was originally we put intelligence, dexterity are two most important stats. Int and
Well, if you're an engineer now, tech is
dex.
going to be a very important stat.
So we would change it from dex to strength then.
Hey, that's the thing with having two different stats, and not everything is gonna fit.
Sure, that's true.
So yes, then strength, strength and intellect will be your most important, and then you can go into. Then there are probably two
But wouldn't
subclasses.
tech be?
Well, then there are two subclasses. One for technology engineering and one for analog engineering. Like, what kind of engineering do you want to do? Like, what gun are you gonna use? Are you gonna use an old trusty like AK-47 that's full mechanical, it's very reliable, very well built, or are you going with an M4 that has all attachments on it with a laser sight and a laser red dot sight and I don't know what else, a bullet counter interface, a wind speed meter, like all those. Like I see it like that. Think you played Overwatch, like the gun that Soldier 76 has like it has interfaces. If the power would go out, this gun would stop working because it is a technology based gun. Where if you have an AK-47 or the futuristic version of that, uh, like an EMP wouldn't take it out. You can just keep shooting because it has no electronic parts. Like I would make that distinction. Like also with if you're traveling and you have a car, for example, an off-road car, like probably an off-road car would be it has very limited interface or very limited computers, because it's easier to repair just mechanical, like analog stuff, in comparison with computers. Like there will be some computers that will give you some readouts, but if it breaks, it doesn't break the car or the vehicle you're
You kind of
you
lost
use.
me, to be honest. I don't remember what you were talking. What was all this about?
You said for the engineer is technology not the most important, and then I said,
Oh,
well,
gotcha. Okay.
if you have two
Okay.
subclasses,
Okay.
like a World War II plane would keep flying with if an EMP goes off, where a modern fighter jet is fully dependent on technology, and an EMP would take it out.
All right. What about charisma plus tech?
We had talked about communications and interfacing with the
Hmm.
machine. We just didn't have a good name for it.
Think about Star
Uh,
Trek. What do they call their?
You mean the big screen? Like that is they most often call it the communicator. Very basic and simple.
They call the it con, right?
The
You
comms,
have the.
yeah,
Oh, they call it com or con.
comms. Like
You have the
uh,
com. Like if
yeah,
they leave
like
the bridge.
oh no, yeah, they say ensign you have the bridge, but there is somebody on communications. They call it often either communications or man the comms, which is a shorter version of communications.
So should we just put comms here, or something
That works
else?
for me.
Yeah, comms or
So
communications.
far, it's been the best kind of concept of what charisma tech would be. We can always replace it if we have a brain idea. There's the words.
A brain idea. Yay. No,
Uh,
yeah, if you have an epiphany.
There you go.
con plus tech.
Yeah, that's then is the con plus tech should be shielding then. And then wisdom plus tech should be targeting or gunnery. Well, because we need those skills.
I think that works. Con being endurance, and then wisdom has always been like perception, awareness.
Sure.
So
Anticipating
targeting.
where the gut instinct of where this pilot's gonna jet off to. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that's a good list.
Yeah.
Okay. What about tech plus tech?
All right, we just have tech plus tech equals tech at the moment.
Yeah, like technology is too broad. Whereas what would tech plus tech do? Tech plus tech would
A
uh
skill just called computers.
yeah, computing. Computers, computing.
My question then is, what's the difference between a computing skill check and a hacking skill check?
Using
Tech
it
plus tech.
versus altering its intended purpose.
I got you.
Yeah, like let's say a tech plus tech is like more programming, and so the straightforward, like making things in with tech. Like you, no, maybe design like tech plus tech would be designing shit. Then you have manufacturing actually making the stuff, and hacking would be breaking the stuff.
Mm.
Sure.
Building, using, and breaking. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Was there any of these other combinations that didn't seem to work?
Um,
Perception, strength plus wisdom.
Strength plus.
Strength plus wisdom is perception. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Like wisdom plus wisdom could be perception. I don't know if what
That's
you have
will
there.
though that we talked about. I think with the strength plus wisdom was the strength is the physical side, like, which is your eyeballs, and then your wisdom is the brain side of knowing what to do with the input.
yeah, my question on some of these: Are we not going to have? Are we going away from the idea of a saving throw? You'll just use a skill, because and that's just my 3.5 D&D brain seeing will, reflex, and fortitude, and going those are saving throws. They don't have to be.
Yeah, but I think we make them skill checks because saving throws is an extra step that is not necessary if you have to just the right skills.
Mm.
Let's see, what do you have? Like wisdom plus wisdom is will, but let me see. What did I see? Wisdom plus calm. Well, what we could do is strength plus wisdom is survival. Strength plus con is will, because that is your strength over body and mind. That is your full willpower. And then make will plus will perception. That's a suggestion. That would make a little bit more sense.
He went through that really quick. Start that again.
Okay. Strength plus constitution is will. That's your will, like how well you can resist things, because that is both your physical. Yeah.
No. The whole basis of wisdom was will. Why
Yeah, I
would we put
know.
it into a spot that has neither wisdom? Like, if we don't want to
Strength and
have it be
con.
wisdom, that's fine, but it doesn't make sense to move it into neither.
Oh, then I would then it would yeah, then I would switch perception and survival around. Like strength. No, wait, no, that's strength plus con. Sorry. Oh, fuck. I'm looking completely wrong. Sorry.
The only
Ignore me.
real question I have on these is fortitude and resiliency. They just sound very similar. So I'm just trying to think in game, when am I going to ask for a fortitude check?
Oh,
And when am I
sure.
going to ask for a resiliency check? They're very similar words. That doesn't mean they have
Sure.
to be similar skills.
Well, yeah, we could change the word or, like, yeah, that's a good point. I didn't
So I
exactly
guess
make these in order, I was jumping around.
sure. So it's just a question of what are we picturing a fortitude check to be? So just like you're marching longer than normal. It's cold outside. You don't have as much food. Things like that.
I would say take resiliency away then and make con plus intelligence perception. That makes a little bit more sense. Like perceiving things is both your mind and the how well your eyes work. Like like
But perception's not an intelligence thing, it's a wisdom thing.
does it have to be?
I'm just saying that's how it works. Like, you don't. Right? I mean, like, it's not a.
But we talked
We could
about
make it whatever we want it to be. I don't have a
yeah.
problem with strength, wisdom being perception, but we could move it if we wanted to.
We said, like we said, we attribute more of what wisdom was to intelligence, and then make wisdom will. Then intelligence plus constitution makes
Mm.
sense to be perception. That's why I'm saying it.
Okay, so int. Oh, because of the change to wisdom.
Yeah,
Int. Okay.
because constitution, that makes sense, because in better physical constitution, like the better your constitution, the better your organs, so to say, work. Plus your mind, being able to scan what you see, constitutes perception.
So what would we put in the wisdom plus strength?
Wisdom plus strength. Um, like it gives me the idea, like it has to do, yeah, it gives the idea of something resisting what we
To me,
already
I
have,
kind of think of
fortitude.
charisma. I mean, I know charisma its own thing, but that's kind of what wisdom strength is, right? Like through physical. No, no, that's incorrect. Okay, so physical, and what do we say? Will and your mental will. Physically making happen what you want to have happen. So yeah, that's charisma, kind of.
Yeah, making having a powerful voice is charisma. Doing what you want and getting
Do we
away with
have
it, you do with
like
charisma.
deception?
Huh?
I mean, deception's
Deception.
traditionally charisma based, but
Charisma plus wish is
I
deception.
mean, we do. It's right there. Charisma. I didn't see it on that list. I was like, that's the best I got. Is the idea of
Sure.
flexing your force of mind to do something.
Sure.
Was
We have intimidation.
That one
Um,
makes charisma plus strength, intimidation makes sense. What is willpower plus strength? Um, Perseverance. Like how well in a physical. No, that's also con. Like for me, willpower plus strength gives me a idea of like continuing when you're between a rock and a hard place.
like we're right now.
Physically. Yeah. Well, but we're now between a rock and a hard place with our minds, but between a rock and a hard place with strength. Like, but then again, it also gives me the feeling of something like guesstimating how heavy something is. Guesstimating, like estimating things, physical things, using your wisdom, your will plus your strength, estimating physical things.
I mean, do we want instinct to be a skill? I don't know what you would call for an instinct roll.
I mean, we already kind of have the targeting side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's not a. What did we used to have in the con int that we put the perception in there?
Resiliency. It was just kind of close to
Oh yeah,
fortitude.
that was okay.
Yeah, strength plus wish would fit resiliency, but then it's too close to fortitude.
Well, I guess at that point you're calling it resisting mentally versus physically.
Well,
But then what will?
resisting mentally would be con, not strength.
Yeah.
Con plus win, plus win is medicine, which would be which also could be resiliency.
Luck. I don't know if we ever want to have a luck stat.
Oh, that's perfect.
Strength plus will is luck.
It's the only way I can think of strength is
Yeah.
you
No, I like it.
influencing the
It's
world,
not an
and wisdom is your brain. It's not perfect, but it's
It's not exact,
I,
but where else would one put luck? I think.
Sure, call it luck. Let's have some fun with luck.
my question now is if we're going to introduce luck, is luck its own skill check, or can you maybe you can use luck when you don't have another trained role?
Yeah, if you're not trained in anything, you can try your luck at it. But your luck has even if it has the same modifiers, there's a lower chance of succeeding.
Something like that. Yeah.
So if
Or
you're
would
not
you be able
like,
to add luck to other rolls?
maybe like if you just, we could say that luck is a skill that when you describe to the DM, instead of like giving inspiration for something you do, the DM can say, "Oh, you gave such a good description, but you still have to roll. So add your luck to it. Just force your luck onto the world with strength and
That could,
Is
yeah,
willpower."
it
it
could just be
this?
up to the GM to just impose luck however they want to.
It could be
Yeah,
this system's version of advantage or disadvantage.
yeah.
All right, well, we'll just put luck. Uh, we can always change it if we need to, but I like it.
Yeah.
Um,
The only other question I had was the difference between reflex and acrobatics.
Reflex is a response. Acrobatics is actively doing it.
Fair enough. And I'm just noting that I'm just now seeing that we have Dex and Int as computers, and we added computing for
Yeah.
technical.
So that we have computers we have to remove. So Dex plus Int. What would that be? Other than computers. It could be, oh, Dex plus Int could be finger dexterity. How do you call that?
sleight of hand.
Uh, sleight of hand. Yes,
We
like
don't have
for
it
our
on the list at the
scoundrels.
moment.
For our scoundrels. Like how well can you like? Oh, I can get past this electronic lock two ways.
Mm-hmm.
Either I hack it, or I take out my trusty tools, pry it open, look where all the leads are going, connect the right leads, and short circuit it so it opens the door.
Okay.
I think we have a robust skill tree there.
Yeah, I think we've got it in a place that's good.
Then the question is, are we gonna do skill ranks?
What?
Well, there's 3.5 where you could invest points in your skills over time, or there's 5e where there's just proficiency added on
Yeah,
top of it, or nothing and it's just your stats determine these.
yeah, that's the question. Are we
Mm.
gonna like proficiency? I don't think would work with the system because we already have strength plus whiz. But like I like the thing that you have 5 different levels. Untrained, so you can't use the skill because you're untrained. You don't know it unless it is a skill that comes natural to you, like athletics, acrobatics, luck. Not everything comes natural to you. And then I have 4 trained, uh, like master, and then the middle 2 advanced,
How is
and
that not proficiency?
It's different in that it's not like a toggle you are or you aren't. We had talked about 5, meaning there are
Yeah,
levels of
that's what I'm saying.
proficiency.
The proficiency we talked about
We're,
was
ju-
5
we're just,
levels.
yeah, we're just expanding on the idea of proficiency. But we had meant he was bringing up skill points, so that was the alternative. But I think
Okay.
I
yeah,
think we're right. The levels of proficiency
Do we
are
yeah,
want to
like
have like say 3 or do we want to go up to 5? I think 5 would almost be too much with 28 skills, 5 different levels.
yeah,
Or would
keeping
that
five.
work?
untrained, trained, and expert does keep it pretty simple, streamlined.
Yeah,
I'm
untrained, trained, uh, advanced, and expert. So you have 3 ranks, and or you have no points in it. That would keep it a little bit simpler. Yes, like
Wait, so you're talking about
proficiency.
4?
Yeah, 4 untrained, and then 3 like
If
trained,
there's going to be 4, there might as
advanced.
well be 5 so there's a middle one.
Yeah,
So it should
I
be
would say
3 or
5.
5.
Like I
Keep it
would say
5?
5. I would say 5, and the reason why I want skill ranks is because with proficiency it is, oh, you have proficiency in this skill, so you get your proficiency bonus, and it is your full proficiency bonus. So you always get a +2, a +3, or a +4. But with skill ranks, it is you have to choose where I'm gonna put the skill points that I have. Like I can have, oh, this one I'm trained in. So I have a +2 or a +1 extra or a +10, however we're gonna do it. But I have put 3 ranks into this skill, so I have +30. So it gives a little bit more diversity, and it makes it a little bit more complex but more customizable. And I thought we were going for that in the system.
Okay. Proficiency. Okay, where did I have that? So we can reword them, but what I originally put down was incompetent, inept, neutral, proficient, expert. What do we want to call them?
In my head, I had labeled them untrained, novice, trained, proficient, and expert.
Untrained. You're going really fast. Untrained what?
Sorry, novice,
Okay.
then trained, then proficient, and then expert. Or if you wanted to make the top level sound better, you could swap out trained and make the middle level proficient, then expert, then master. But at that point, it's all labels at this point.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. You went really fast. Okay. What change were you wanting?
I'm not saying we need one. I'm saying just the alternative is to what I posted is you would take out trained, and it would be untrained, novice, proficient, expert, and then master. If you wanted to
Oh,
make the top
gotcha.
tier sound that much cooler. But
Master. Yeah, master's cool.
other than that, I mean, at this point, it's just labels for the same concept. So
Yeah,
Sure.
so
And having proficient be the middle proficiency level makes sense.
yeah.
Okay.
So then we have 5 ranks. Yeah, then base scores. Are we gonna use a what kind of system are we gonna use? Like one is it like 1 to 10? Keep it easy. 1 is very bad, and 10 is out is very good, and 5 is average.
Uh, what I changed it to, which we can always change again. Hold on, let me click this now real quick. It's bugging me. Because we want to have a minimum number that you can have and a maximum number you can have starting off. Because you don't want level 1 characters to be getting max stats and have too shit of scores. So I just doubled the original values that we had. So 10 is average, 6 is lowest, 14 is highest. So to get like a totally vanilla character would be 7 10s, essentially.
are we
Uh,
picturing 20 as the max rank then?
for
Yeah, but it's
skills, yeah, for the skills portion of it, because each thing is 2 coming into it, or say athletics is strength. So you can get a plus 20 in athletics if you have a 10, or if it went up to a higher number. So if 20 was the max, you'd get a plus 40. So that's a
Were you saying
40%.
14 was the max ever or the max at character creation?
During character creation is what I was thinking, but I'm open to whatever you guys think.
no, yeah. Then the question is, what is the range? Are we gonna say 100 is comparable with a 20 in D&D? And a plus 40 is not that bad.
I think we'll have to use either an exploding system or a D100 or something similar if we want to take out the middle step of mods, where you take your strength score, make a strength mod, so that way your bonuses are single digits and you can use a D20 system. If we want to skip that and just have stats be stats, which I think we should, it's just one less bit of
Mm-hmm.
math that everyone has to do, then we just have to have a bigger scale for
Right.
success and failure. Um, I guess looking at the extreme, let's say you have 2 stats at 20, your skill is a plus 40. I mean,
Which is
that's
only
going to
a. So that'd be a plus. What, 8 for a d20?
be, if we're comparing it to 100, yeah, 40% would be 8, yes, plus 8.
So that's max stats for a skill check, you get a +8 on a d20. That's about right.
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
something's
and then
completely maxed out.
we could either give you a bonus based on your proficiency level. What I had originally been looking at was 5 different scales saying if you're untrained, here is what the result of your die roll means, and most of that scale is failure.
Oh, so the proficiency isn't a modifier; it's the table
No.
in which you compare the results.
That was my
It's
original
it's
thought.
the base table. It is like the DC. Like the
Ah,
DC, the DM,
yeah.
it will be 5 tables of suggestive DCs on different types of roles, like what you want to do, and those are suggestions. But then the DM can make up their own. Oh, make me a athletics check. What is your proficiency? Oh, I'm a master in athletics. Okay, the DC is a 40, and with a +40 you're gonna make it.
Well, see, that's a different situation. We're gonna have to want to see if we're gonna, because the system I'm talking about doesn't take into account the difficulty of a jump. So let's say your task is an athletics skill to jump across a gap. In my thought process, you're rolling on a table that gives you whether or not you succeeded, regardless of the size of the gap. So that is a fair point. What it might have to be is, if we do it that way, there might have to be a set of 5 for the different proficiency levels, but then also I
What
think
what if
3.
we made a complex chart and proficiency proficiencies shift everything one column, and then difficulty can shift it another.
I got you. So you have a chart that on one side
A
is the
generic one
proficiency,
big chart. Yeah.
and then difficulty, and then it'll give you your results.
Yeah, but it will be still a suggestive chart though, because the DM
Oh
can
yeah,
make
Oh, of course. That's
the final.
how
But
all of
like,
this is here's
yeah,
a way you do whatever you want.
here's a bucket of stuff. Have fun. You're the DM, but we have some suggestions in there.
yeah,
No,
that
like
could
for
work very well because the on one hand, the proficiency, the higher you go, the lower your failure odds are, and the other one's going to bump them up. So that's very workable. That could be done, and then you don't need 5 tables. Because as I was thinking, I was like, well, crap, we have to take into account how difficult it is.
Sure.
So then I was going to make 10 more charts, 5 for
No, I
each
think yeah, one
easy,
complex chart.
moderate, and difficult. But your idea, I think that's a good idea.
well, I think we should have a 5 by 5 chart.
Yeah, just have
5
a DC for each.
proficiencies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
5 proficiencies and 5 difficulties. And yeah, if you're untrained in something and it is very easy, then the DC would be
10.
a 50-50.
Yeah, the whatever.
So,
Yeah, exactly. The 50. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so if you take a 100, where like a 100 is equal to a DC of 20 in D&D, then it will be exactly a 50.
Right, so each level goes up. It requires for a 50-50 chance to be the next level of proficiency.
Yeah, like 50-50
Right.
will be like, so
Sure.
that way on the, like, very 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 difficult thing, and you're a master in something, still a 50-50.
Mm, I think it would slide.
Well, it's very, if something is very very difficult, even though you're a master, like if you're a master bowman, it's still very difficult to hit like a match at
Oh,
50 of
sure.
or
I get what you're saying.
100
I thought you were
yard
saying
distance.
like I thought you were saying the best it gets was 50-50. Never mind. I understand what you're saying.
No, like
I get
it
it.
will go this, like the
Yeah, I get it.
50-50 will go this way over the
Mhm.
chart. And then
Cool.
if you want to do something that is even more difficult, even though you master, the DM just extrapolates from the chart.
Sure. Okay. All right. So I'll make up that 5 by 5. Let me put out my notes.
So we want attributes between 1 and 20?
That worked out to be a maximum +8, which is a reasonable number in D20, so I think that works. Having a 20 scale for the stats.
Yeah, and then yeah, a 1 to 100, where 100 is equal to a DC 20. So you roll. Well, this chart should be shifted then a little bit because you have modifiers. You have your roll, your D100 that you roll, plus your modifier,
40.
and then and if the highest you can get is a +8, then your average would be an 18, or a what is it? The average would be 50 plus 40 is a 90. So
Attribute can be put.
yeah, like if the average you roll is a 50 on a D100, well, it's not a complete, it's 51, but if the average you roll on a 50 on a D100 is 50, plus your 40 in max additive, makes you a 90 on average. So if something is a little bit more harder than average, then the DC would be 100. But very more harder than average for your skill level. So my question is, are we going with the 1 to 20 and then a D100 system?
Yeah, I mean, I like the 1 to 20 for the attributes. If we put a cap, we obviously, you can't have below a certain number and be an adventurer, so it has to be somewhere. So if we did 6 for the lowest, and that just is moving forward, you can't be lower than 6. And then where do we set the cap for level 1? Obviously, GM can change it, but
Well, if you want the cap of 20 and it will be only 20, like for D&D it is, like for character creation, like the technical max is 20, but in the book it goes up to like 30. Like you can get a item that gives you 29 strength. So are we gonna cap it on 20? Then the average should be around 8. 8 should be the average, or 7 or 8 should be the average. If you're gonna say you can get higher than 20 in special circumstances, then the average can be 10.
should we
Like
take off caps then?
like of course the DM can do what he wants and can just keep extrapolating. But like if you're gonna say that 20, like if 20 is the same as the 20 in D&D, then it shouldn't be a hard cap, in my opinion. Then make like in D&D, like the 18 is, no, the 20 is the theoretical hard cap. So then keep the 20 as the hard cap for character creation. Then you can roll 4d6, drop the lowest, and
I
get an
don't
18.
see. I think having a hard cap of 20 is fine for our game. Right?
I don't have a problem with a hard cap, and like I say, anyone can choose to ignore it if they don't want a hard cap.
If you want a hard cap, then I would say the average should be not 10, but a little bit lower. The average should be 8.
We can take caps off though. I mean,
Yeah, no, but if you want 20 as a cap,
I don't fucking care. You know, like this is not. I can do whatever I want in my game. I just mean in general, what should we?
well, if you want in general want to set 20 as a hard cap, then the average would be a little bit lower because otherwise,
Why?
it gets too high. Well, if you look, well, with the example with D&D, 20 is not the hard cap. It's the character creation cap, and you can get higher, and some classes do get
Right,
bonuses,
but
and
all
some.
of our skills require 2 stats. So That's why I was thinking 20 was the max. We don't have to have it. We can just whatever your score is. It doesn't matter. You can literally be whatever you want. And we'll get rid of that stigma of like I have an intelligence of 8 or I have an intelligence of 6, so I have to be a stupid idiot. We could get rid of that if we didn't have caps too. I mean, like you just roleplay your character however you want. Try to have your stats match how you're playing it, but it just literally just modifies your rolls. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Okay. No, no, then it's fine.
So, I mean, you don't necessarily have to have a cap, right? I mean,
No.
just
Well, you should like can you suggest some ways of getting your stats? Like let's say um well the thing is you said 20 plus 20 is a relatively plus 8, which in D&D you don't get until like in the teens with your proficiency bonus. Where here, if you get a 20 on character creation in like strength, your athletics will be plus 40. Or
but plus 40 on a D100 scale is much different than a plus 40 with a 20 scale.
yeah,
You
but
divide it by 5, so it's plus
still plus
40
8,
would be a plus 8 for a D100.
which you get when which you can get then on level 1, where in D&D you get it when you enter the early teens. Level 10, 11, 12, there you get your plus 8.
You couldn't get a 20 though right off the bat.
Not a character creation.
Not a character creation. You can't max your character out.
No, then we have to like what method are we going to use to decide your attributes?
That's the question. That's what we're asking. Yeah, that's what we're at here is the base scores. So, I'm sorry, I didn't know you didn't realize it. Yeah. So we're on the base course section. So, if we're going to seven attributes.
No, well,
We were looking at if 10 was your average starting score, just to look at, you could go for just like, for instance, the 8s. Or not 8s, it'd be 10s. I guess 10s for D&D would be 0s, right? So if you did all 10s to have all the 0, 0, 0, so there's no negative but no pluses. That's kind of where I was trying to find where the base for that would be for this system.
so you don't want to be able to max out your character, so you shouldn't do a 46 drop the lowest, because then you can get 18 plus ratio bonus, can get to 20.
Well,
I
we
would
can.
make it a point buy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just straight up point buy since the values are so much more extreme. So getting to the point buy, we need to know how many points to assign for, because we did like that jack of all trades, the progressive special, all that's based on the jack of all trades. So if you find how many points for all of them to be middle of the road for a starting character, that many points you could then reshuffle to be worse and better or expert and shit. You know what I'm saying? Still, you get that same flexibility.
What do you want to be the highest score you can get?
That's what I'm asking. I don't know.
I don't think we should worry about a
I would say 14 then.
For that's what we were 14 was what we were talking about for character creation.
Yes.
We also talked about the hard cap mechanically.
Yeah, that's
Get
what
rid of the hard cap, but just at character creation, we want to stick with 14.
If you say 14, then and you want the average, you want to be 10, 10, 10, 10. So one of the ways you could do it is give somebody 70 points. Say highest, lowest is 6, highest is 14. You have 70 points.
That's what we're looking at, dude.
70 points to divide.
Are you lost? I'm not trying to be a dick, but we have 7 stats and 7 10s. That's literally 70. What we're looking at is, do we need to change that value? I'm sorry. I don't mean to be a dick. I come across as a dick.
No.
That's literally what. Look at the
Oh no,
book
no,
where
no.
we're at. There's 7 tens. That's 70.
Yeah, well, you wanted a system for how to divide those points, a point-by system. You can simplify it to just give them 70 points. Here, have 70 points. Divide them however you want.
That's where it's at right now. So what I'm asking is this a good number? Is 10 the average number that we look at, or is it going to be 7 values of 8? Is it 7 values of 12? Right? So right now 10 is where we're at. It was 5s originally. We doubled them all. Right?
Oh, okay,
We
in that way.
doubled them to
Okay, I
10.
catch you now.
Okay, because we were running in circles. Like, okay, so we
My
doubled.
only question is, do you want
Yes.
to enforce a minimum, or do we want to let
We
people play
did.
with a 1?
At first, it was minimum of 6, maximum of 14 for character creation. But then we were talking about, well, what if we got rid of that?
Because in theory, if we impose, I think we should impose the maximum of 14 in
For character creation. Okay, so we had that. Take it off. Okay.
And if we do that, let's math. I'm bad at math all of a sudden. 14 times 4 is 40, 56. Another 14 would put you at 70. So you could at most have 4 stats maxed out, and your other ones would suffer for it.
Right. The 666,
more
14, 14, 14. The specialist one that's on the third line would be the. Right? Oh, no, there's 7 stats.
There's 7 stats.
We
Yeah.
changed it up, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there's 7 stats.
Maximum is 14. So how would that look like? What would that middle
Well,
one be?
14, 14, 14, 10, 6, 6, 6.
Oh, 10 in the middle. Okay. 10.
Yeah, you have one average stat.
Okay. 14, 14, 14, 10, 6, 6. Okay. And then this one could be a... These are just examples. Of course, they could do whatever they wanted. Do we want to do a 1 point for 1 point, or do it where it increases as you go up? I don't know if I like that. I kind of like the 1 for 1.
1 for 1 is easy. No one
Sure.
has to try and do a conversion chart.
Yeah, here it's like 2 points for 1 point, and now 1 is a third of a...
And as they level up, we can get them
circumference
at
of a-
this level. You get X number of points to put into your stats.
Sure.
1 for 1, we don't have to care.
And I don't like the... Here, take attributes or feats. So fucking stupid, because I always want feats, but then you don't get to ever increase your score.
I thought what my idea was, what I mentioned last week, is that you have certain feats you can choose from depending on your elemental affinity and class.
I love it. They should come from a different aspect. I agree.
Yes. So at character creation, the minimum stat can be a 6 and the maximum is 10. 1 for 1, 70 points. Have fun.
Okay.
That has to be edited, of course, but
Receive...
what does the chat think about this? Anyone has some input?
Receive a pool of... We said 70, right? That's where we're going with.
Yeah, that's where I was going with. Oh, you have 70, divide them however you want. That's the tangent I went on before I understood that we were talking about the same thing.
To each of the 7 attributes.
And of course, the DM can change it however they want. They can set the max to 16 and the minimum to 4, but that's up to the DM.
Alright, obviously this will get more expanded on, but... Alright, here's some examples. Blah, blah, blah. Secretary of Progressive Specialist. Okay. Now, then we say... see, how do I get it on a new line? Here we go. Okay. Scripting. It's fun stuff. Alright, okay, then we say skills skill checks. Require heading both applicable attribute scores and adding them to the D100 roll. Take the result and compare it to the proficiency / difficulty table.
Shouldn't that be put on the proficiency or the secondary attributes and not on the base scores?
What were you saying?
So you're typing this on the base scores. Shouldn't it be under the proficiency tab?
Probably. I'm just getting shit on there. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Gonna redo it later.
Yeah. This is just to get shit on there, and then like the table for the proficiency thing will get added in the all that stuff. We'll get determining attribute scores, fleshing out character. Okay, so those obviously will get changed. There'll be a lot more explanation than just data. It'll actually walk somebody through it. All right, so we're at 7.
Yeah, I think we should take a break.
7 primary. I need a cigarette and I'm out too. Damn. 7 primary.
We've been going for almost 2 hours. I need to stretch.
Sure. 28 secondary. And then base scores. She's perfect. Okay. Yeah, we can take a break and we'll be back. Hope everybody's having fun. Part of developing is disagreeing or misunderstanding each other. It's not personal. We just work through the problems. So I'm glad we're all on the same page now. We're having lots of fun. You got to remember, this is all about having fun and working together and collaborating. So, it'd be good to take a little break for just to, reset that as well, and we'll get back at it.
See you soon.
All right, and we are back. Thanks for sticking with us. All right, so before we went on break, we looked at a couple different things. We established we kind of like the idea of having 7 primary attributes: strength, dex, con, wisdom, intelligence, charisma, and tech. So that would come up with 28 stat combinations if you take into consideration every possibility and them being able to be doubled up. We assigned applicable skills, and we were able to fit in all the ones for the 3 different character sheets. We're talking about the individual combat, the role-playing, and the starship mechanics. So that worked out well, so we don't have to have separate starship skills. They just don't get used, probably, unless you're doing that. Everything has 1, and there's 1 for everything, so I like that. Then we moved on to base scores. So if we did a pool of 70 points to assign to each of the 7 attributes, at character creation, minimum a stat can be a 6, maximum is 14. Do whatever you want. Skill checks require attribute scores from both that go into a D100 roll, and then you compare it to a proficiency difficulty table, which we will do a 5x5 on. Okay. I feel like that's pretty good. Obviously, when we get to weapons systems and how those work, how spells damage, all those things, we'll have to figure out exactly how to balance them. Like, how much, if you start with 100 HP versus 10 HP, it's a big difference for how much damage weapons do, right? So, do we want to do it comparatively where you start at the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hit points? Or do we want to do it where you start at the 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 health points? You know, like how exactly do we want to work that? I kind of like the increasing by a multiple of 10 for an example. Um, just so that way you can add in a little more variance. So if something did 4 damage and you increase everything by 10, you could then have it do 42 damage or 47 damage as opposed to only doing 4. Does that make sense? So you get the
Yeah.
more variables. So I like that. Plus, it's just a shitty feeling having amount of hit points you can count on one hand, maybe two hands. You know, when you start, you just feel super squishy. Um, when if you can still be the same balance, but if you times it by 10, having 50 hit points and things just hit harder. You're like, I don't know. To me, it just you feel more like an adventurer, I guess. And then there's no reason why things can't just keep going up. There's no maximum hit points. You know, so instead of having 220 at level 20 or whatever, you could have 2,200. You know, so it could just scale up to a much higher amount. Which is totally fine because when we get to the starship side, obviously starship hit points are going to be astronomically higher. When you get to that high of a multiple, whether the starting was a 10 or 100, it's not going to make that big of a difference. It's still going to be a huge number anyway. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but that also begs the question: what is the leveling range? Is it 1 to 20, 1 to 10?
Well, let's look at some things we did already establish. We talked about 5 affinities, and as of right now, there are 3 tiers to each affinity. So, we should look at, say, someone ran a very long campaign, and how many affinities do we say you can do? Obviously, GM can change it. Are you locked into 2? Are you maximum of 3? Can you get to all 5? And if you could do all 5, could you do all 5 and then all 3 tiers of them? You know what I mean? Like, how do we want to work that? I think establishing that will help us figure out and how often somebody can increase it. Is this a every level you increase it? Or is it every 2? Is it every 4? Is it every 5? Like, how do we want to do it? I think that'll help determine the levels as well.
Yeah, so 3 tiers, 5 affinities, maybe level 1 to 15. Then you can get all of them, or you can double down on some, like because I think the first ability, like what I said earlier, was the first ability should be something you can choose. You have 2 or 3 choices between what you pick in that affinity. Like for the fire affinity, you pick what you want. Like for combat, you pick one of the feats, one of the abilities from a pool of maybe 2 or 3. So you can double down on a affinity to get the other feat in that, or you can choose a different elemental affinity. That's a way we can do it.
What do you think, Joe? I don't know if I like the 5 affinities being a thing. Should we have it be where you can get all 5?
We should at least have that your race gives you at least you can choose between 2, because your race has certain affinities.
All right, you start with
And
1. We know that.
yeah,
Eventually, get a
so
second, but
yeah, just the second should be one of your choice and not dependent on your race. Like, we don't want to lock somebody in and like, oh, you're this race, so you can only have these two affinities
Right,
because that's the planet.
right, right. I mean,
I
after.
wouldn't let anyone get more than 3. I think 15 levels is a good set. For 5 levels, you've got one. At level 6, you pick a second one. At level 11, you can pick a final one.
Yeah, you can, and then level 15. Well, the 15 is the theoretical max. We will develop until level 15, but you can keep going. Like every at level 16, you pick another affinity. That's something you can do, but we will develop for
Well,
level 1 to
do we
15.
want to do 3 or should we stick with 2?
I don't have a problem with 2. We don't have a magic system for 3 in mind at the moment. We only have the 10 elements.
That's what exactly what I was just thinking. Was we only have the combinations of 2, so if
If
we
we want to go,
I'm fine
only
with 2.
did 2, I mean, there's still a lot of flexibility, and I think if everybody could learn all of them or a majority of them, even they're going to be too similar to each other. You know,
Well,
like
what we could do,
restricting it will give variance.
what we could do is 15 levels. Level 1, you get your first affinity. Then level 6, you get your second. And then on level 11, you get your combination affinity. Like if you had fire and air, you get smoke. Out level,
oh, you just can't combine them until then.
No, I thought.
that's another
So
option.
why
Although,
15? Why are we already stuck on 15?
Well, not necessarily. It was just what was suggested. I'm
Oh,
not
okay.
opposed to 15, but we
that
don't have to do 15.
But where did the 15 come from?
three tiers, 5
Okay,
3 tiers of
elements,
magic.
okay.
so
Um,
15.
so I'd rather the amount of levels or times you could progress to be based on other aspects than like I don't want it to just be arbitrary. So if we did 2 affinities and they each have 3 tiers, is that what we wanted? Was 3 tiers, or did we want more or less?
I think 3 worked
Okay, and
because we
then
were trying to limit how much magic was really there.
sure. Okay, and then we also have the combination aspect as well. So I have a 1 in fire, and then I take a 1 in air. Do I then get the fire air magic? Are they independent? Is it
I think what we had talked about, at least originally, is that um, when you're combining 2 elements, it's got to be a minimum tier 2 magic because you're doing 2 tier 1s.
okay? That's right. Yeah, one hand was one was the other.
So it's just a question of when you get access to tier 2 magic. Do you get that at the same time as your second affinity or later?
I would say no. I would say later. Like I would say you have to get used to your first affinity. Then you choose your second. You have to get used to that. And when you used to both, then you can combine.
So both of them have to be in to their tier 2s to be able to do the combined elements.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
what we're
You have
saying?
to. Yeah, you have to have understanding of your 2 affinities before you can combine them into like. Let's say I take fire on level 1. Let's say level 3 I take air. Then I have to get to tier 2 of them. Also level 6 I can go into smoke.
Okay.
Like yeah, you have to get used to your new affinities. Not like, oh, I have a new affinity. I know everything about it, so I can combine it with my other affinity and get the tier 2 elements. I think that is, yeah. That then you choose your second affinity and you get your tier 2 element on the same level. I think that's too much. So I think there should be some levels between that before you can get your tier 2 element.
Okay, so we have 6 affinities worth of getting. Uh, 3 for 2 different ones. So that gives us 6 things to work towards getting. Let me just pick a spot here to type for a holding place. All right, so in the determining attribute score, that's where I'll put it. All right, so we have 2 elemental affinities. There are 3 tiers to each affinity. Alright, so we do know there's minimum of 6 levels. Then let's add on top of that. So in between those, what are some other...
Minimum of 9 levels, because you also have 3 tiers in your second tier element.
Well, that's
Right?
3 in each tier. 3 tiers for one affinity, 3 tiers for the other. 6 is where he's going.
Yeah, but then you have your tier 2 element. Does it also have 3 tiers?
No, if we put a prerequisite on, you have to master this one and this one to a certain level, I think you would just now have the ability to do those or the other. Like, you would get more spells to your spell book, but your spell slots would still be the same.
Oh, okay.
It wouldn't be fair to put a prerequisite and then you gotta level it up more. You know what I'm saying? Like, it should just be
Yeah.
a thing that comes when you do it. So what are some other things? We also want attribute scores, right?
Yeah, when are your
Yeah,
attribute
opportunity
scores gonna
increase
increase?
Score increases. Okay. Um, we also have feats, right?
Well, the feats, well, the idea I had with the feats is with your like, you have your first ability in fire. You have a choice between multiple feats to take.
So
Or do
elemental
you want,
feats.
yeah, do you, and some that are not maybe connected to elements.
Now
So
I
you can
like,
choose.
yeah, I like it being based in things you've already unlocked. So, like scoundrel feats, we have a pool of those, and then fire feat. You know, like fire biohacker. You know, like we could just have pools of feats and maybe racial feats and class feats and all these different
Yeah.
things, and these are all available to pick from. And then at levels you could then pick those, but you can only pick from the tables you go into. Does that make sense? So if you multi-classed, your feat pool is now bigger.
Yeah.
Do you guys like that?
Well, yeah, there are two ways we can, like I said, two ways we can do feats. Either feats are the abilities you get, or that are separate from the abilities you get. So what I'm saying is, the first fire ability, so to say, is that from a pool of feats you can choose, or are that just one ability you get, and then the next level you can maybe choose a feat that is connected to either your element or your class.
How is that different than what I just said?
No, I don't
If it
know.
if it is, that's okay. I guess I don't explain what you're saying.
I'm just asking, like, how do you, how do I explain that? Do you want the feats to be completely separate from the abilities you get from your elements and classes?
I don't know. Um, so the pitched idea was if you have certain things you pick for creating your character, right? We have race, class, your elemental affinity, and that's going to open up the subclasses and stuff like that. If each of these categories have a what whatever you want to call it, whether it's feats or abilities or things you can do, um, and have you can choose X amount during character creation. So, like, You're a lizard folk. Do you want to have a claw attack or, some other lizardy thing? And then you picked a biohacker. There are these biohacker things that you have access to. You get some automatic ones, but then have some other things to pick from. And then also, you have your elemental affinity to the biohacker thing. So there's the fire version, there's the air version, there's the earth, all those things.
Okay,
Those could
you want
each
them
have,
separate.
yeah, those are each separate, and you get however many. Like we could figure that out, right? But then I was thinking that might be a good way to, at further leveling, is we give them more feat points, and we could work it to where you can buy any feat that you have access to. Like, but you only have access to your racial ones, your class ones, and your subclass. If you multi-classed, it would then open up your feats or whatever you want
Yeah,
to
okay.
call them to additional lists, but you still only get the feat points at whatever interval we say this is a balanced way to do it.
Oh, okay, in that way, yeah.
So that way you
So,
could be very flexible with it, but then it also bottlenecks you to where you couldn't increase too quickly.
yeah. And then we could do something like feat points, like, oh, you get 2 feat points. Well, some
Exactly.
feats
When you
cost
level
one
up, you
point,
get,
some
yeah,
feats
how
cost
many
two
attribute
points.
points do they get? How many feat points do they get? How many this thing? And then at this level, this level, you can now get an affinity point. Or you can multi-class now at this level. Stuff like that. So that's what we're trying to figure out is when you get what and what do you get. Um,
And
As
and that
far
will
as
help us
affinity
determine the
goes,
levels. Do we do 50 levels and you get them much more frequently? Do we do 6 levels and then there's categories in between the two? I don't know. That's what we're trying to figure out. So we figure out how many things we want them to be able to get. That will help us determine the levels. So if we know there's 2 elemental affinities and 3 tiers each, we're starting with a base minimum of 6 levels, but we don't want to have that be every level. There's got to be shit in between. So how many levels do we want in
I'm
between those?
sitting at 16 at the moment.
Why?
At level 1, you get your affinity point. 2 and 3, you get other progress. Level 4, you get an affinity point. Do you get tier 2? Do you get a second element? I don't know. It's your affinity point. Level 5, 6, in between shit. Level 7, you get a third affinity point. You get to bump it to level 3, or your first level of another one, or one of them to level 2, whatever you're doing. 8, 9, in between shit. 10, affinity point. 11, 12, in between shit. 13 is affinity point. 14, 15 is in between shit. And 16 is your final affinity.
Okay.
that sounds good.
There are other ways to do it, I'm sure, and I'm open to them. But
Yeah,
that was where my brain first went.
Yeah, and
That
the
made
in between,
sense.
yeah, the in between shit could be feat points and yeah, just feat points.
Perfect. Okay, well, let's
Just
use that as an example. Love it. Okay, so level
write it
1.
down.
Yeah, level 1. You get what?
Your affinity point, which will be determined based on your race. And then whatever class features you
Okay, so affinity. So we'll call that AP for now.
Sure.
Uh, so we'll go AP equals affinity point. And that will be determined by your race. We'll give you the option of 2. You pick either one.
Yeah.
Okay. What else do you get? You get a feat point probably.
On level 1, you get probably 1 feat point for your class and 1 feat point for your race. Or just say 2 feat points. You can choose either, like either 2 feats for your class or 2 feats for your race, or a level 2 feat that combines maybe the two. Like some have prerequisites, like oh for this feat point you have to be a I don't know what race do we have?
That's
Let
a
me look
good
at the
point brought
races.
up in the chat there. Warhammer does it. Big Eyes Small Mouth does it. You just earn XP, and you just have a running like checkbook of XP,
Hmm.
and then you spend it when you want to spend it. So if you say, I think I want my first affinity point as soon as possible, You save up your XP, you buy that
Okay.
affinity point, and
Oh,
but
and you
then
can
you're
also
not going to get ability your traits
So
or your
we would
feat
just
points and
need to
stuff.
build a table then of your first affinity point costs this much XP. Your second one
yeah
costs this much more. Like they should obviously not be linear. I think they should
Sure.
yeah.
scale
And
up.
then your first feed point costs this much, and your second feed
Yeah.
point costs
Ah,
this, and then when you like, and then at some point, oh, if you have if you choose feed points, now you can start buying stat increasements for the experience.
Yeah.
Oh
So
no,
rather than
no, it's
having the
just from the
cost,
start.
it's
Yeah, just from
strictly
the
there's not
start.
a level at that point. It's just
Yeah, it's just
you
you
are
have
buying.
you're just
yeah, you have
constantly getting experience that you would track, and then you would just
yeah,
cash it in
just
as
call
you
it
wanted on
yeah,
whatever you wanted.
like elemental experience. Just call it elemental experience, and you can spend your elemental experience on whatever you want. Your first feat point maybe cost 100 experience. Your second affinity point maybe 1,000. Um, and your first and if your first stat increasement maybe 1,200. So then it's gonna be a resource management game, mini game within the game. Like, okay, how am I gonna do this? Um, you want to maximize, like, the DM determines how much experience you get and for what. That we leave up to the DM. But we set a guideline for, okay, this is how you can spend your experience. That's a very good idea. So yeah, at level 1 you get some feat points and and your first affinity ability, and then it's
Defeating
experience all the
enemies,
way.
completing
Now,
quests.
not to take us too far off this, but I've been working on the chart for rolling. And as I'm done with my concept, I'm realizing that I'm envisioning 3 different tiers of success. I don't know if that's what we want to do. So I guess that's a question. At the moment, on each, I've got 5 different difficulties and 5 different proficiencies, and each one gives you a quick breakdown of this is a partial success, this is a success, this is a critical success. Anything lower than a partial success is just a failure.
Oh, you want. Yeah, well, yeah. Some things are very black and white. Like, oh, you succeed or you do not. Like, I jump over this gap. But yeah, oh no, you could still have a partial success where partial success you jump and you grab onto the other side, but you're hanging from the other side. Now you have to get up. Where
Yeah,
a full success is you jump completely. So yeah, maybe have 3 different charts still.
because I've got a single chart and it breaks it down into 5 different sections that each give you your success ranges. The only thing it doesn't give you is your. I just realized that I put room for critical success without room for critical failure,
Mm.
so I would have to add that in there. But at the moment, it's serviceable. Or I can take out the concept of critical success and just make it pass fail.
I don't I don't really like the system in D&D where you have a critical fail and a critical success. Like, yeah, you rolled high, but uh, like, okay, you have a 1 in 20 chance to do extra damage. Like, I think it should be a range. Like, oh, you did so well that you do extra damage.
Well, this chart does use a range for some of them. Like an example, on a trivial task, if you are a master proficiency, I have it anywhere from 91 to 100. That's a 10% chance of critical success. So it's double the chance that it would be in D&D. Though on the high end, if it's the most difficult task, a master only has a 3% chance of a critical success. I just didn't work in a room for critical failure, which is what I have to do
Mm.
and what I can do. It was just a question of whether we want multiple tiers of success and failure or just pass fail, or do we want to keep that critical success, critical fail vibe?
To be honest, I don't like the system, but I won't say no. Like, for me, for me, I like the partial success, the full success, and then the fail, the partial success, and the full success. I like that more than critical fail and critical success. 'Cause, 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 'cause
Say that one more time.
Well, we can either have it set up so that you either fail, succeed, or something in between, where there's a partial success, you almost did it. We could do just you did it or you didn't do it, or we could have more of a range where there's success, there's failure, there's critical success, there's critical failure. Similar to D&D vibes.
You don't want to take away the aspect of those incredible roll moments for players, like the moment where someone gets a clutch crit, and everybody at the table just, yeah, like we don't even know what exactly it did, but where we all have that moment of great joy, or the face palm where we're all just like, we are so fucked. If you take away
Okay,
the
yeah, that's true.
crits, that goes away, and those
Okay.
moments
At
I
the moment, I
think is
just didn't.
what you play for, in
Sure.
my opinion.
I
But
just did not account for critical failures, which I realized after I was done accounting for critical successes. So it just means I gotta add more numbers, and then
sure.
we'll tweak the numbers if we decide it's too easy or too hard.
Do you guys want to have criticals though, or not?
I'm fine with it. It was just a question.
I'm
'Cause-
fine with it. It's just I myself don't like them. But
How come?
if you it's like, oh, I have a 1 in 20 chance in D&D to do something so well that after 1 in 20 chance that I roll this number, this magical number, that the DM will have to give me something in return, even though my character might be shit in what I roll for.
This helps get rid of that a little bit. Like, if you're untrained and it's a even moderately difficult task at the moment, I have it that you have to roll 100 on a 100-sided die to get a critical.
Yeah, I
But
think
a
it should
moderately
scale with
difficult
proficiency. Yeah.
It does. So
Yeah,
far.
no, yeah, that's what I like a lot better. Like if
Okay.
it scales with proficiency,
I'll keep working on this and add critical failures, and then we'll see how you guys like it.
Sure.
Once it's got, because it does take into account your skill level.
Perfect, because we were talking
Yeah.
about the proficiency versus difficulty.
Mhm.
So in that can be so if you're a master and it's the easiest challenge, there should be a massive critical.
yeah, 30 to 50% chance
Right.
to crit.
Well, we're in different places, and that's okay. Right now, I gave them a 10% chance to crit on a trivial task, but they only have to roll a 26 out of 100 to succeed.
Got you. So crit is still smaller, but the success. Okay, yeah, you just work something out, and we'll we can relook at that. Awesome.
Yeah.
You can always twist it.
Sure. Yeah, I do. Yeah, once you said that, it did make more sense to still have it be about a 10 or whatever, with the success being lower. Yeah, we don't want to get too crazy with crits, no matter what. Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, 10% crit chance if you're a master on the easiest thing, and your crit chance becomes lower and lower. And I'm way more happy with a crit chance of 1% than 5%.
Well, my plan as I go to deal with critical failure is the opposite will be true, that the master has a bigger crit chance and a smaller crit fail chance, but an untrained person will have a much bigger crit fail chance.
Crit fail chance, right.
Than crit chance.
They have a 1% chance to crit success on something, and they have a 10% chance to fail.
So I'm going to add
always want
proficiency. We'll call it a PP, proficiency point, as another increasing your character thing, since proficiencies are going to be so impactful to things. I think that should be one of the things that you have to buy with your experience points.
Yeah. So,
obviously something's gonna be meta, right? Like the ideal mechanical thing to always do first is this. So, but that's unavoidable. Like people will figure that out, and that's a lot of people will play to that. But you also want to have it set up to where you don't. If you don't take the meta thing, you can still have a good game. That's what we want to look at is for the non-meta people.
Probably it's the best. Like if the feat point is very cheap, it's maybe the best to take 2 feats first, then a proficiency point or an attribute point. Well, proficiency points are for proficiency. The first one should be reasonably cheap. But what is it? Attribute points. That's also one. But we already have AP.
I'm changing it right now, so we'll do elemental affinity for EA, and then we'll do
EA. Oh no.
AP for attribute point.
Brings up bad memories if you say EA.
Unearth Arcana?
No.
Or no, that's
This one.
you. No,
EA.
wait, EA.
Electronic Arts.
Oh, the
Electronic Arts.
The publisher.
what was that
The
thing?
publisher.
Unearth. What is Unearth Arcana? Is
UA.
UA. I don't know why I
Yeah.
said for you.
EA is Electronic Arts, the publisher that just ruined every game I liked. Or a lot of games I liked.
Challenge everything.
Yeah. Yeah, after 2012, everything they brought out is just like, well, I like the concept, but your execution is shit.
So, elemental
you wanna
affinity, fee point, proficiency point, attribute point. Is there anything else?
Well, we have the proficiency point, which is skill points. Oh yeah, it's a proficiency of skill points. The attribute points that have to increase. Feat points, elemental affinity. Is there anything? Yes. Let me think.
If we do that kind of a system though, like how are your hit points going to increase and stuff like that? Is that going to be just
buy a hit point upgrade, HP upgrade, hit point. You buy hit points with your experience.
I mean, hit point could be tied to level still. Well,
You
We're
don't have a
level-
no?
level.
We wouldn't have levels. Yeah.
I would make it because we still have to choose how you get your class features. I would say that certain amounts of XP still get you a level, but you can still buy it now. That's
Well,
a good point.
what if
No,
we do it like you don't get more health, but you can afford to buy armor and different gear, which gives you supplemental. Like, say you have, for instance, 100 health at level
you have to
1,
pay-
but at level 16 you still have 100 health. Like, I don't get more health in real life, but I can
You
get
could
a
also
bunch of
do it-
skills and armor and tech and all these things to supplement
You
them.
can
That's-
steal from the face rip system. Your health is based off all your physical attributes. So if you take strength, dex, and con, add those together, and that's your health, then increasing those attributes also give you health.
I would say your health is
Okay.
dependent on con, your race, and your class. Like your con is, well, how healthy you are. Your race gives you a physical stat, and your class is what you're trained for. So that's 3, and that gives you a base health, and then you can modify your health indeed by either magic, so get more health through spells, and or maybe have permanent maybe what was it? Water will give you a ability that you can just apply a health boost to somebody. You get 100 extra health, and I can do this to one person, and that's my ability for my elemental affinity ability. Elemental affinity ability.
So loot
Like-
boxes.
So you can. That's a one way to increase somebody's health, but you can do that to one person. And the other ways are indeed armor. Like in real life, yeah, the only way you're gonna get more health is more constitution. So increasing your constitution will give you more health, and the other way is armor. Like instead of just face tanking, just taking damage, the way in the system to survive is avoid damage. Either avoid it by physically move out of the way of
Some kind
the
of
slab.
damage mitigation. Yeah.
Yeah. Or wear armor that, oh, I hit you. Oh, yeah, you have armor. Doesn't do anything.
But you're damaging
need
the
a-
armor. The armor has health. Right.
The armor has health, yes. And the armor is either just physical armor, or it may be a shield
A
that
shield.
has
Yeah.
a shield that has a certain amount of hit points. But for example, how we could do it is normal armor has hit points, and you have to hit it, and at some point it has no hit points anymore, and then you go over to the real hit points to
Right.
actually kill somebody.
Right.
Shields have less hit points than armor, but they recharge because they're shields.
Right.
So that's the way we could do it, and
Sure.
that's so you have your base HP depending on your race, class, and constitution, and then the rest is our armor or technology.
So that would be a thing where you would buy more than one piece of armor because it's going to break. It's just a matter of when. And then we could set up however we set up action economy. I really like the idea of instead of you have a standard bonus react just give a have like an action
Points.
economy exactly points where you have this many you can do whatever you want. So if you don't move, you could then get maybe an extra bonus action or something along those lines where you could give up certain things to get to do extra things.
Like for
Um,
example, one thing you can do is for 1 point you can activate your repair module in your armor to repair your armor a bit. That's one of your points, but you could also spend that point to shoot your gun. So that's the choice. Am I gonna repair my armor, heal, so to say, or am I gonna deal damage?
mm.
Like I would say the amount of points, like you have base 1 or 2 points in combat, and then depending on your class, you get at certain. You,
Yeah, I think it
oh
should
man,
be class based, and then maybe some
and
races
then
have
maybe you can buy,
additional. Go ahead.
and then you can buy maybe extra points, the combat points, say CP. Maybe you can buy extra combat points with experience. They're expensive,
That would be a
but that's
waste,
also
though.
why. If you they're expensive, but if you buy some, you have one more action to do damage or heal yourself or whatever to
Well,
do something.
I like the idea of having some like class features or something that maybe allows you to spend a spell point or some other thing to maybe either yourself or your someone in your party to get an extra point, like the buffing debuffing that we were talking about with the biohacker. Maybe that they can do a spell, so it'll take a slot. But one of the things they could do with maybe the lightning side is they could give an extra combat point to an ally or something like that.
Well, yeah, it's something like, oh, I spent one, I've spent 1 point to cast this spell and give 2 of my allies both a point. Otherwise, it is a 1-for-1, which is, depending, yeah, might be useful, but if it's gonna cost a spell slot, it should be 1-for-2 or something. But that's something we can figure out. Yeah, yeah, but the idea is that you, with experience, you can buy extra points in the action economy, but they're expensive as fuck.
I mean, if you spend experience to get extra combat points, like permanently,
Yeah, but they're experience, and maybe we put a cap on it. You can only buy 1 or 2.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like a consumable. You could spend
that was my
experience.
concern for a second.
I know.
So
I was like,
clarify, it's
that's.
like,
I don't like that at all.
no, if you can spend experience to permanently have an extra piece of action economy, that could make sense. Like a
Yeah,
fighter's
right.
extra attack.
yeah. Like at some point, like maybe okay, you're the soldier, and you start with 3 points. Well, you can choose to use all the 3 to attack. But oh, it's a third round. I took some damage. I'm gonna spend 1 to move, 1 to repair my try to repair my armor, and 1 to attack. And then I have enough experience. I buy 1 more point. So now at our points, I have 4 points, so I can do more. They're expensive.
I was
Um,
thinking that would be along the lines of where the what the feats would be. So feats also open up to classes. So if we want the soldier to be able to do an extra attack, that be one of the available feats. Is
oh, you
you turn
guide
your
the feet.
attack action into two attacks. It still costs the same amount of combat points, but you now get to do two attacks for the cost of
Yeah.
one. But if you spent that point on an extra movement or aiding an ally or something like that, you don't get to do the other thing twice, or the cost of it doesn't go
Yeah.
down. It still gets to stay balanced.
Yeah. So one of the feats is when taking an action to attack, you can make 2 attacks.
Right. Then that be feat, not
Yeah. Then we tie it on the feats,
right.
and we will limit the amount of feats that give action points.
And then like there could even be a 3 attacks. One, obviously it'd be expensive or something like that, but it would kind of balance itself out because if somebody took it, the rules could we'd set up, excuse me, to where you couldn't do 3 attacks and move and a bonus act, and all these other things. Like to do that, that's all you're doing. But if you're already in a good spot, you don't need to move. You're not worrying about it. You're literally just, bipod out, gun, just boom, boom, shooting. To say you could only shoot once, maybe twice. Like there'd be some situations maybe you can get 3 shots off. But you literally can't do anything else. You can't pull anything out. You can't do any, extra stuff. But
you could say like there is also a negative. Okay, you can shoot 3 times for one action point, but you lower your defenses. As you can put a negative on it, like that. There are feats. I want to shoot 3 times for 1 action point. I also take a malice, but that's something. That's the things we can figure out. Let's see. Tiered skills unlock a new hit die as you earn affinities and feats. You will unlock tiers of new skills. Tie the health to tiers.
That wouldn't be bad. We have affinity points.
Tie the health to affinity points and not to armor. I like the armor idea that you tie the affinity
what
points
was
to
that one
armor.
say? Tie the health to tiers. So the tiers inside of the affinity.
Yeah. So every time you take an affinity point, you also get health.
We could also just say that for every X amount of experience you spend, regardless of what it's on. So in theory, before we on the idea, but if you tied it to the amount of XP spent, and said for every 1,000, for every 2,000, whatever XP spent, your health goes up. Then regardless of who's spending their money, how, they'll get health theoretically at the same rate. It'll fluctuate as people spend things, because maybe somebody saves up for something expensive, and then the guy buying quick things is going to get health faster, but it'll normalize at the end.
Or we could also tie them to feats. Some feats give you more health.
And just specifically have the health feat.
Yeah, I'd be cool with that. I think that would be fun and it makes sense. But I personally, I really like the idea, and we don't have to do just what I want. Obviously, it's a collaboration. But I really like the idea of a somewhat fixed health pool with minor exceptions, but you have to at the end we're all squishies, right? I mean, there's only so much damage I can take before one
totally
good
fine.
cut I could fucking just bleed out. That
Yeah,
one
just a
slash
question of
might
how
not kill
dangerous-
me. But what I can do is I can put armor, or I can put on a fucking suit, or I can, wear these other things to where my body could take a lot more damage before suffering that internal injury. But if I get that, I'm fucked. I really like that idea of not being some magical health point.
Sure, it's
Barbarian.
a question of how lethal you want the world to be.
I like the way of armor. Like you have a fixed health pool, and maybe some feats increase your health by a little bit. That we put it on some feats. That gives you a little bit more health, a little bit more survivability if your armor, if they penetrate your armor. But yeah, your defenses should be based on your armor. And when your armor is gone, you just one good stab one stab in the heart, and you're dead within 30 seconds. Like or like like one step through the eye, and you're dead within seconds or instantly, depending on how they stab, of course. But
And then we could always look at, well, what can magic undo or fix? That aspect of it too. Like, can a water biohacker bring someone back from the dead, or are you just fucking dead? Like how brutal do we want to have this? You know, um,
Nothing wrong with brutal. It's just one of those things that players are going to know going in
sure.
that this is how deadly the world is.
I would say like a biohacker with the water affinity. Well, a biohacker should be able to get somebody back if they die. Technically, if they die, uh, within 1 or 2 rounds. That's if we take a round of 6 seconds, that's 12 seconds. You can revive a body, like you can use magic to heal the wounds and then revive the body. Nothing has died technically yet. 6 seconds after the heart stops beating. Where a water affinity, a biohacker of high enough level can do it up to a minute. And after a minute, the only way you can come back is through a mystic, because the mystic has to pluck your soul and put it back into your body.
Oh, okay.
Like the mystics are so powerful, they can reconnect, like they can pull your consciousness from the afterlife and put it back into your body. So yeah, if your character dies and you don't have a biohacker that can revive them within a minute, like uh, for us physically, if your heart stops beating, so if your brain starts dying after a minute of no oxygen.
Mm.
So I would say cutoff point is a minute after after the round they died. So within 10 rounds of somebody dying, uh, you have to be revived, and depending on how skillful the person is that tries to revive you, how well the success is. Like they can do multiple tries, but at some point they run out of time,
Mm.
and then you're
Or
dead.
spell slots or whatever it is. Okay.
Yeah, and then you're dead, and then the only way is to go to a mystic, do maybe a whole quest, like have either have a mystic that likes you and wants that person back, or do something for the mystic that is very beneficial for the mystic, so they might bring your friend back.
Maybe it's super expensive for the whole party to, 1,000 gold or whatever. Like that's what it costs to pay one to do it.
Like a mystic would like a mystic is one of the most powerful beings in this solar
Mm-hmm.
system slash universe. They want something in return. Either you have should you they either they owe you a favor that you already acquired by doing something for them, and the favor has to be substantial enough that they would revive somebody, or yeah, they just want a shit ton of money. But technically, like it should be something like money. Like if you're a mystic, what is money? You're so powerful that money um has much less value to you than a normal adventurer. So either it has to be indeed a shit ton of money to be
Yes
value
and
enough.
no. I mean, a billionaire still doesn't want to stop making money.
True, but if you're a mystic and you're so powerful that you almost can create things by flicking your fingers, like they use money to influence all the people, get to do like
Yeah, I
pay
mean,
all the people to do what they
yeah,
want.
not,
So it should be it. I'm just saying it should be a substantial amount of money for a mystic to revive somebody
At the
or
same
do
time, though,
something.
this is a high tech world. Is cloning a thing?
I would say there is some like I say there is maybe a feat where you can upload your consciousness into a computer. So when you die, they only have to take out a chip and they need to find you a new body. But how hard is it to find a body to upload a mind into?
I'd
A little
be.
bit of black
Yeah, we
market,
could
a little bit of
take
gray area.
normal D&D spells and reskin them for future tech. So instead of a clone spell, it's download your information into a hard drive, and you couldn't use it unless your body's gone, maybe. But then you could put it
Yeah,
into
it could
another
be a
one.
thing where if you pay to have a clone grown, there'll just be like a I don't know corresponding chip into both of your necks, and if you die, you just get beamed up.
Well, I would
And
say like you should take a feat that like a feat that's available to everybody, which you get an implant that backs up everything that's on your brain. But also, if that now your brain is in a symbiotic relationship with the implant, so if the implant gets removed, you also go dark, and the implant has to be reattached for if your body is still alive for you to function. So you give something up in how do you say that safety, so to say, or however you want to call it. You give something up to get something back, which is when your body dies, they can take out a chip, either clone a body, find a body, put an implant in it, and like maybe they could just find a body, find somebody, take them, uh, put in the implant, and override their brain with your information.
I kind of like the idea of having a implant idea, but maybe even have it be tiered. Like there's tiers of implants, and having different tiers could unlock different things for you. Or maybe like a biohacker effects nanites are more effective on you if you have a tier 2 implant or something like that.
let's
You know,
tie
like
it
we
back
could.
to the guilds too. If we want it to be a more lethal world, but we still want players to be attached to their characters, in theory, the guild doesn't want to waste its time and money teaching a whole other person to do things.
Sure.
So they'll bring you back, but now you've been demoted, you have debt, whatever else. So death has a consequence, but you don't have to worry about losing your character if it's going to be as deadly as we're talking.
Oh, and then if we get into backgrounds for character creation, maybe we have that be one of the backgrounds is you are a previous adventurer
Oh yeah,
who had died. You are starting with debt or all these downsides. The implant thing just takes place. It's between you and the DM to come up with who you were, what you did, how much of your memories do you retain. Is that based on the tier of
Oh yeah.
implant that you had? Like, is one of them just your soul, or is one like your memories?
Like
Is
one
it
is just your
foggy
personality with
memory?
no, yeah,
Yeah,
just your personality without any memories, and that's the higher the tier, that's the more of your previous character you have. Like if you have, for example, you have a tier 5, which is the implant will reprogram with nanites will pre-program the brain, the new brain to where it was exactly the same as your old brain.
I
With
even
the
think
brain,
it'd be like a complete DNA cloning at that point, where you just get a new body exactly with everything at the
yeah, like
top
the
tier.
like
You know, like
yeah.
it's a new, brand new you. But then the other ones would be how much of you gets retained into putting into this new person. And that brings up the thing of, if that's a thing, you know, what can somebody, why would somebody lend their body to be implanted? Is it like a form of suicide? Instead of killing yourself, if you're done with your life, they'll do this thing where, like,
Well, I
if you
imagine there
give
are a
your
lot of
body, they'll give money or something else to somebody you care about or something like that, to
yeah.
where your essence is now gone. They plug in the thing into the implant, but then your mom or whoever, you know what I mean, like gets a bunch of money or something like that.
Well, there is a business currently in, I know the United States, where people will go to prison for money. They will waste their life in prison, for money for the people they love. They will take the blame for a crime. The money goes to a loved one, and they sit in prison for 5 to 10 years.
Mm,
They waste away their life in prison. Well, depending on what kind of prison, like
sure.
some prisons you waste away your life, some prisons you actually get to learn things and progress in life. But like technically you waste away your life to give money to somebody. Like if you have debts and they like let's say the girl, you have debts with the girl, and the girl is saying, well, your sister goes out every Wednesday evening to this and this bar. When are you gonna repay your debts? And one of the ways to repay your debt is by giving your body so they can put somebody else in it.
Oh,
That's a dark way of respawning, using someone else's body. And if we're doing
Well,
an
cloning is
experience buy system,
expensive.
well, yeah, but however they do it, an easy way to deal with having a cost to respawning, essentially, is everything's on a point buy system. So we'll just have to have, however you track what you spend is going to be in sequential order. And you die, you learn whatever percentage of your XP that you accumulated is gone.
Mm.
So either you've lost something you've banked and you have to re-earn it, or if it's more than what you've banked, you lose skills sequentially backwards because
Oh
the guild
yeah.
is only like backing up your implant X however
Oh,
often.
Depending on your
when you
implant, yeah. If you have
update
it,
your link, your neural link,
yeah.
it's
And
essentially a
depend
save point.
Yeah.
like and depending on the depending on the tier of your implants, the more it saves. Like if you have a tier
Yeah, to lower
5, like
the
if you have a
XP
tier
cost
one,
around.
like if you have a tier 1, you maybe lose 5,000 experience, where on a tier 5 you only use 1,000.
Or
Like we
maybe
can.
like your save points are when you upgrade your brain implant, and it's a one-time thing. So when you put in the tier 1, that essentially that moment in time, that experience pool is saved. And then if you upgrade to a tier 2 later, then that is now the next save point. The overrides the original. You know what I mean? But you could only do that so many times. So, like a player moving forward, it's like, guys, it's been 4 levels since I've got a brain implant. Maybe we should swing by the thing so I could go get another one. You know, I can make that hard point.
Or like you can give them a device. Let's say it is a device in the spaceship where they can download the save point themselves. But if your ship gets blown up, all of it is gone. It's you have to get back to the girl to. Let's say it's so much data that it's too much to transmit with a transmitter. So you actually have to go to a save point area to save your progress. You can't quick save. You can only hard save on certain points.
Hmm.
Like yeah, when you're at the guild, okay, yeah, it's for a skill. Like I've bought 4 things since our last save point. Let's go to the guild and upload a save. Or like okay, I have my save. Okay, I have my save points. Like the first 3 are in the guild, and then 4 and 5 are in the spaceship. If the spaceships get blown up and we survive, or if the spaceship get blown up and some of us die, then we lose all everything we saved in on the computer in the spaceship. Like give them only certain points where they can upload their progress, and of course put the debt or so a cost to it, some kind of cost, either in the new character that you get. Like maybe the body you get has a less intelligent brain, so you take a malice to your intelligence by 2 points because it's a less intellectual brain. Like all your memories are there,
What do
but
you
the
think?
brain power is less than what you used to.
What do you think, Joe?
What I would almost do, rather than making it set points, I mean, I guess then it puts the onus on the character, the player, to make sure they don't go too long between backups. Because otherwise, they had 15,000 experience. Now they've only got 3 because they didn't plan very well. If we did a set percentage, every time you die, it's 5%, 10% of your accumulated XP, including what you've spent. So that way it scales with however much you've earned. But each time, like the first one, maybe the first 2, you're fine. But the more times you die, you then have to start potentially rolling, I don't know, not necessarily sanity checks,
Sure.
but the idea that the post traumatic stress of being blown up a couple times starts to
A
haunt your
PTSD
nightmares.
chart? I love it.
So
Yeah, like
putting,
Let him keep going.
go
Yeah.
ahead, keep going, Joe.
yeah, just the idea that the punishment on the XP side will never be so drastic because it'll be tied to how much they've earned. But then if they do it too frequently, then it's going to be the idea that maybe they'll start seeing things, remembering things. If we are having it where they take someone else's body, maybe they've done it too many times. They're starting to get like an Assassin's Creed Animus bleeding effect thing where you have other people's memories.
Yeah,
Because
the
there's a lot
memories
of
of the person you took over is like
yeah,
not complete. Like, yeah, like your backup is not strong enough because it has been backed up a few times. Like that's why it's not strong enough to completely override the brain of the person you took. So the DM can make a backstory for that person. Is like, oh, you see a woman and you feel sad, very sad.
And we could set up the neural implants to also be kind of the hub for how many body augmentations you could handle.
oh yeah,
So, like a level 1 brain implant also allows one body augmentation. And then a level 2 brain implant comes with a different bonus, a thing or whatever. And then two body augmentations or one level 2 augmentation or something like that. So they could be tied to, you can get like a laser eyeball and
Yeah, the Deadshot eye.
yeah, or some finger thing augmentation, or you could get a level 2 bionic arm, or you know what I mean, like it could tie to that as well. That might be kind of cool.
Or that some armors need you to have an implant because it has to interface with your brain. Like, instead of thinking about what you want to do and then giving a command to your armor, it already, the moment you think it, the armor is like, okay, I'm doing what you want. Like, how you, like, the better the implant, the better armor, seamlessly your armor can move.
Mm.
Like maybe you have power armor that is also like the arms are powered, so you're wearing power armor that is controlled by the implant, so you maybe don't need the strength score because it is completely powered by hydraulics. So, and it is as seamless as moving your arms, but you need a good implant for that because it has to respond very quickly to what you want to do.
Mm.
Like, it has to be yeah, the higher the tier, like at some point it is okay, I want to do this now, instead of it being seamless with like us moving
We
our
could
arms.
do like reaction spell storage in neural implants as well. So, like, I'm going to prepare Featherfall or whatever, to where we're walking on this cliffside. I might fall, but you just the neural implants are set up to where they can store a certain amount of spells or a one spell, but at certain levels, at different levels of implant. Where a reactionary thing isn't just based on declaring; it's you actually have to physically store it, and that will take a slot. You'll put it in the implant, but it's only going to be able to go off with established conditions that you say when you store it.
it's actually pretty good because we're building these backups in case people die. So if it's a brutal enough world, a water affinity be like, you know what? I'm gonna have healing nanites flood this body if I take a hit.
Perfect.
So
Yeah.
they've got a backup option
If
on
I
top
go
of the backup
down,
option.
yeah, but then doing that, you then can't use that for a different way. That is the
Yeah, you've used it up in case you go down, but maybe you're prepping for that, or maybe you're worried about other stuff. But it gives you some versatility.
sure. Or you can like if somebody probes my mind, I want this psionic spell to go off as a defense mechanism or something like that, or like
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
no,
No,
I just
because
started laughing because I was picturing how would I defend my mind to attack, and I was like, obviously, if someone tries to get into my mind, the spell is going to make all sorts of weird images for them to see. It's just
yeah.
a pink elephants on parade style.
Yeah, just like a distraction for the person that tries to probe your mind. Like, okay, what is he thinking about? Yellow elephant,
and then
pink
what if
elephant,
like
white elephant.
a, a thing of like the telepathic mystics or whether they have all three or mixtures of, maybe the mystics can fuck with people's neural implants or something like that. So
Oh,
that is just something passive that they could have. So people having these implants, the guilds are going to set up guild people for two things. I think one, for them to be effective mechanisms to further the guild's plan, but then also make them susceptible to control or shut down to make sure the mystics stay in power. So if the guilds did these neural implants so they could have these other benefits, well, these implants make like a fucking antenna for these mystics to just be able to be like, disobedience, shut down.
So
You know, like
the
you're
players don't find out till later. That's all right.
exactly, and so the implants just boom. Like, and do we? If we did, that's really cool. Honestly, do we do like a level 1 neural implant be a requirement to join the guild?
I would think
uh,
so.
yeah,
That way,
but
it's not
yeah,
a player choice. It's and maybe the elemental affinity comes with increasing your neural implant. So that's what you're doing is you are
That would give you 6 tiers of implants by the end.
right.
And that makes sense because only a few people are made have the affinity to the elements. So until you join the guild, you can cantrip level nonsense,
And okay,
and then your
but
implants
but
as well.
but I don't like yes, in the modules we're gonna write are very dependent on the guild. But what if a DM wants to make the homebrew world without the guilds?
We'll just skip the guilds and the implants.
Yeah, but if the implants are like tied to where you get the
Oh,
affinities,
yeah. I mean,
but
that's
it's
I
not
would.
our problem if somebody goes off the beaten path. Like if they want to change something, then it's their prerogative to make it work. You know what I mean? Like we don't have to make ours set up for every possibility that someone may want to homebrew something. You know what I mean? Like if you change something, you may also have to change other things to make it make sense.
True, but I like the system where you just buy the affinities with experience, and instead of having to upgrade your neuro implant.
Yeah, we don't have
Like
to tie it. That was just an
the
idea.
the whole neuro implant idea was just when you die, that's a way to back up your brain. And then the only like if you don't do that, the only real way to get your brain back is with a mystic. That was the whole idea, and then we started talking about neuro implants for a long time.
I
Uh,
like tying them to the guilds. Whether we tie them to affinity levels is another thing. Sure.
I like time to the guilds. Yeah, the guilds would do that. They want to control you, and they should, and they should have some elemental magic about it, which will make you like stand out like a sore thumb, in a crowd. Or how do you say that? As a Dutch guy in a crowd, so to say, uh, to a mystic that can just from a solar system distance can just say, that one and gone, and you just go flop. And your team can save you, but then they go in defiance with the guild, and then the whole story start.
That could be a really interesting story arc too. That could be put
Yeah,
into um, where they find out about the neural implants and maybe they want to defect from the guilds and they got to figure out a way of getting these neural implants removed without dying. Like
yeah, that could.
how do you do that? That might be a cool quest in one of the books or something where they
Oh
have
yeah,
to go somewhere and the guild can track people with implants. That's the whole point
That's
of they
already
find
interesting.
out about it and they are like, well, fuck, we have to get these taken out, and so they have to go on this whole thing of finding somebody who can actually do that without them dying. They get them taken out, and then they can go do this rogue thing, or maybe that's an end game quest or something that we put in our module. Where
I
no,
already
that's
yeah,
like the
just
concept of
like
that story, just because without having defined what the implant means and how it goes in and what it'll be to take out, the second you said get it out, I was like, that's going to be a tricky bitch. So that's already a compelling story without any of the
oh
actual
yeah.
details.
but yeah, when you
I
run
like.
all five together, how we run it, that would be really cool. Where if these implants were a integral thing of part of progressing your character, and you so many things are based on it, so you invest in it, and then you get, level
To the last
14 or
mod,
something. Yeah, you get to the last section,
But
and you're like, all right.
the
And then,
last, the
wait,
last section of the last module, and then it's all about, oh shit,
remove the
these
implant.
we have to remove these. Maybe at some point they have found some MacGuffin or something, and they finally find out. Oh, with this we can block the Mystics' connection to us. So now we can block them, and now we can find a way. While we're being hunted by bounty hunters from the Guild because the Mystics can't see us anymore, we're hopping from planet to planet, trying to find somebody that can help us with removing these implants, while bounty hunters are coming left and right because they know our last known location. Like the moment you go off the map,
Sure.
mystics are like, you, 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 get them. Like just six bounty hunters start jump
And
in
if a bunch of
spaceships.
your, not all, obviously not a majority, but if a chunk of your character progression has been invested into these implants, like your augmentations, some stored spell slots, or other things like that, you're moving up, and then you find this out, you have two options as a party. Either move forward keeping these things, but it's going to fuck up everything, or go through this long process of getting them ripped out delicately, like work safely, but then you lose all these things, and now you're going to have to move forward without all these obstacles, but you just lost progression of your character essentially. That'd be kind
Hey,
of
what?
forget
cool.
the world building
Hey,
and the
what?
game and the mechanics. I just want to write this story as an action movie. I'm
Hey,
just
hey,
picturing this summer, rogue agents destroy the implants to save the world.
hey, hey, guys, what if the implants actually were limiting you in some way? Because the girl doesn't want you to be powerful, your party to be powerful enough to defeat a mystic.
Or the amount that a mystic can control you scales up with the higher tier implant. So a tier 5, they can completely control your body. For instance, with the level 1, they could just do suggestion or something like that. So maybe that's
Trading power for control.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways you could take that implant.
I would say, if you remove, like, if you have your implant, yeah, you get a lot of bonuses depending on your implant. But what if the implant is actually limiting you? So if you remove it, and at the end of the last module, you actually unlock like the ultimate of your affinities, like the ultimate power, and a party of four, should be strong enough to actually take on a mystic. And that's like one of the final thing. The final boss is a mystic in the last module, where you have taken out your uh your neural link, and you're now facing like a mystic to like the boss of the guild or something, to abolish this whole craft or trade by say, oh, here is an implant, and with this implant you get a lot of bonuses and things, but at the same time it's limiting your ultimate potential.
Yeah. I like the idea of not giving them a choice, too. Like, you becoming a player means you're an adventurer, which means you've been picked up by a guild, and one of their prerequisites is a neural implant. So here's some information about the implants. And don't even
Oh yeah,
hint at as it being a negative thing. It's just that's how it is. You did this. That means you had this. You're starting with already you have obtained it. Um,
yeah.
so yeah, so that way we
If,
can't
if,
have.
if today if yeah if the DM wants to play in the world we create or one of the modules, then that's, yeah. Or in a homebrew world and wants to use the same thing, go ahead. That's how it works.
What do we
And they
do
can all
about? Does that fit all races though? Like, how does that work on a Zed? How does that work on a Cuddle?
a cuddle would just
Good
would
dang
work,
question.
but a Z, that's yes. That that's the thing.
Coleoptera could work. Cuddle.
Cuddle could work. Cuddle is
Yeah, that
what
could
is it?
work.
A
Dark Elf.
blobfish with a brain. But a Z doesn't have a brain. A Z is a consciousness within crystal.
So
Maybe
would
they've learned to manipulate crystal to a degree, so you you kind of let their crystal implant merge with your form. The
What
way
if the implant goes into a Z, not the actual Z itself? Because you remember we talked about Zeds having a Z?
Yeah, a little piece of Z that they can Z on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they implant the Z because you can't you can't put it into a Z itself.
You could tweak it a little because we talked about them having the Z, which is a resonant frequency
Oh
that they
right.
use to
Yeah.
communicate. So maybe just part of their equipment, or maybe
Well,
just
yeah.
bolted
Well, you
onto
could.
them.
Yeah.
Just
You just get glued onto them, and it taps into their resonance, and that's how
yeah,
it can control them. Or you can just set.
Taps into their
Oh,
Z.
yeah. Or you can just say the implant goes into Z, and the Z can be anything because they all
We
call
don't
the
have to
important thing
explain
Z.
it because we
You don't
did
have
when
to
we
explain
said
it.
it went into the Z. Like you should just know.
yes. It's manipulating the Z of the Z when he Zs. What's confusing about it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have to explain it. Just say it goes. The implant goes in
I
the Z of the
literally
Z.
just explained it. I just said it. It's in the
Yay!
Z.
It goes in the Z.
I don't understand. How does it work? It's a
Goes
Z.
in the Z.
Like what the chat just
Okay,
threw
I
up.
will explain it again. A Z has a Z, and the implant goes in the Z.
The neural implant also opens up the idea of VR space for communication and briefings. Oh,
So
yeah,
the idea
because
is
yeah.
that you've got some amount of technology just in your brain, so you could just
well, right, and we had talked about the gnomes on Iria having
they've
the AR
got some.
VR thing, so maybe they
They
further
might be a
tap.
whole society of all implanted people, just not guild implants.
Okay.
So
Yeah, they
that
have their
essentially
own
their
society.
ARs just overriding their actual senses rather than a headset, directly
Eh,
tapping into the feedback to their brain.
Yeah, if you have an implant that is high enough quality or high enough processing power, it can just augment, like can just send information to your brain what otherwise you like what you it can inject things in what your eyes see. So instead of having a heads up display, a
Mm-hmm.
HUD, you actually just have the HUD in your eyes. Like the
Mm-hmm.
implant just puts it into the stream of information that comes out of your eyes.
And what if
Like,
the
oh, here
no?
are so many bullets I have, so many armor points I still have.
Sure.
This is the
So the
distance.
gnomes. Okay, so if the gnomes have that, we had said it came from Sakar from the cuddle. We can either change it or have that be the perceived. What if that came from the mystics, which aren't a known thing? All right, that'd be a later on discovered the details of the mystics. What if they chose the gnomes to be the experiment for the next phase of their plan or something like that? Where
Well, how did the Kurtles get it? The Kurtles got it from the Terrans, right? Old Terran technology.
I
Like what?
I don't know if they actually did. It could be just people think it came from them. You know, like perception is reality. So if they know they got it from the cut, whether they did or not actually.
The Cuddle are a recent enough development in space that we talked about that it could have been an opportunity for them to just develop it along with a developing society. Essentially, they were introducing tech that was a Terran relic and then guiding its development with the Cuddle, seeing how quickly they were advancing.
So they could have seen and interacted with the implants left by the Terrans there, like on the bodies, learning getting to the suits, but then they have their own AR VR interface with their bubbles, their
Mm-hmm.
balls for their HUD. So what if they came up with the AR VR thing of grabbing imp like interlacing the implants from the Terran bodies and their own that they made for their suits, and that's what got taken to the
Yeah, the actual
gnomes.
software.
And then the hardware portion could come from the male gnomes
Yeah.
because they do the
All
body
about it.
modifications. So maybe
They've
the
already got shady dealings with Terrans and other
right.
people in the guilds to get the
So the face value the face value of the male gnomes to the female gnomes would be the eyeball modifications. You know, the things for the VRAR things. They think that's the only modifications that they do, and they do those to everybody on the planet. But the underground portion is all the other shit.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I did finish mocking up my roll chart and threw that in the forums under my section of Roll20.
Sure, let's
So
check it out.
we don't necessarily need to spend a lot of time on it right now, but I know we're going to be thinking about
Hell yeah.
stuff. And Bart, you said you're going to be working on mechanics during the week, so feel free to use that as a starting point. Or maybe you go, this is dumb, and do it all over however you want. That was just what I threw up while we were talking about it.
Copy it. Untrained, easy. Okay, this looks good. Let me bring this down here so everyone else can say it. Here.
Well, look at that. So it's broken down into 5 sections based on the difficulty of the task. So there, for trivial, if you roll with your bonuses a 30 and you're untrained, well, that's still a failure. But it's not a critical failure. And so on up the chart.
So CF, critical failure,
Partial success.
success, and critical success. Okay.
So the chart on the one hand is a little more punishing on some aspects, so you're going to sometimes have less of a chance of a crit than D&D and more of a chance of a crit fail.
Mm-hmm.
But 3 out of the 5 categories are some level of success. So I think you strike a balance.
Sure.
Between the two. So in this one, you technically have untrained with a trivial skill, you have more than a 50% chance to succeed on some level. But there's a 45% chance you're going to fail some of that crit.
Mm.
And the chart goes all the way up to impossible. I don't know if that's what we're going to call the hardest difficulty of task. But
Improbable?
Yeah, trivial. Improbable? Sure. So yeah, a master only has a 5% chance, I guess 6% chance to fail critically on a trivial task, but a 10% chance to critically succeed. He's got a 3% chance to succeed critically on an impossible, but still only a 15% chance of critical failure.
Okay.
And I can't remember how much of his odds were of succeeding in general. Or if you just want to scroll back over to impossible. I think he had a reasonable chance of success on impossible if he was a master.
Yeah, I like this.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't like about it is that still untrained people can get a critical success on a natural one. Oh no, we talked about that. Sorry. We talked about it.
Perfect to 100 on the most difficult stuff, and then they've only got 3% chance. So most likely you're going to succeed on something trivial, but an untrained as low as easy still has more of a chance of failure than success. And then as soon as you get to moderate, it starts getting more difficult.
Mm.
But these numbers and ranges can all be tweaked. This was just first blush in the last whatever we've been doing 3 hours here today. Threw up some numbers. We can adjust these ranges to make it more or less likely to critically succeed, critically fail. So yeah, on an impossible, or if we change it to improbable, if you're a master, you still have more than a 50% chance to succeed. And that's before bonuses.
Yeah, I like it, man.
But if you're not a master, even being an expert, you have less than a 50% chance, and it gets worse from there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it looks good.
And this chart could be just put into the dungeon or game master guide. It just could just be something that they reference constantly, you know, like just while they're playing, and that could give them the DCs for everything, you know.
This could be a page you print out with your character sheet,
sure.
Or it could be in the back of the book so everyone can reference it. So yeah, feel free to use it as a starting point. We can adjust the numbers up and down as we roll dice if we decide that it's too easy, too hard.
Stuff like this is what we need for play testing, you know, like this may not be scripture, you know, but fuck, it's good enough to where that's just what you use to play test, and everybody using the same thing. And then if everybody gives general feedback of, hey, the moderate stuff for untrained was way too easy, or you know, stuff like that, just as people come back with things, and then that's
and I
where
did
we
consider for difficult and impossible not giving untrained that 1 in 100 chance. I thought about making it the cap at a success, which we could still do. Just make that column not applicable. You cannot critically succeed untrained.
Yeah,
So
like I said, I don't like them. If you're untrained in something, that you can still critically succeed. But I think it should be up to the DM. Oh, you critically succeed, but if a master did the same thing and critically succeed, they would have succeeded more, so to say.
yeah,
To
there's
balance it out a little bit.
all sorts of tweaking we can do. But yeah, this is a good place to start as any, and we'll fudge numbers as we find out whether or not they work.
Sure. I think a
Indeed.
good way to do it would be to like asterisk rule, like note an alternate way of running the game is these ones are impossible. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah,
Like keep
the
these at the hundreds.
variant rule.
Right, that if you like the untrained
Because the
not
one
being able
thing,
to even ever critical, like here's the
yeah,
variant version.
we will have to look at it because one thing it doesn't take into account for is bonuses. So in theory, if you had a skill that you were completely maxed on plus whatever it is plus 40 bonus, and you were a master, then your minimum roll is a 41. Maybe that's fine, and maybe we want to give you that level of success. It means on an impossible skill you could still technically fail, but not but a moderate skill you probably can't, or very close to can't. So, and that's fine. It's going to take a while to get up to a plus 40 in any one skill anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's just something we got to consider because this is just bald numbers, no bonuses.
Yeah, you need 12. What is it? You need 12 points to get to max. So I don't know how many points we're gonna give with attribute increasement, but like to get 20 to 220s, or to get 1 to 20, you need 6 increasement. Get 2 skills to 20, you need at least 12 increasements.
Yeah, if you have your
There's
twos to
also the
step.
idea of going over 100 too. So if
Yeah,
we're wanting to make something be more than impossible, like what you're talking about, you could make the number just go over 100. So what makes it impossible is the amount of that you could ever possibly roll. Because there's a difference
yeah.
between rolling 100 on the D100 and rolling an 85 and having a plus 15. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
the
like
impossible thing should be above 100 technically.
yeah.
It should
Yeah.
be where if you don't have extra things, even at your best, you can't do it.
That makes some sense.
Like if you have, let's say you make an athletics check and you have 20 athletics, which 20 strength, which means you get a plus 40, then your average is going to be 90, because your average is 50 plus 40 is 90. So your average is going to be 90, and that 90 is either if you're uh, untrained or an expert.
Yeah.
You still your average is a 90, so yeah. So if somebody is impossible, is like should be in the 90th percentile. So 50% is 90. So what is 90%?
And well, and that's a good point on getting the numbers above 100. As it is, if you averaged a 90 on an impossible task, you still wouldn't succeed unless you were at least proficient with a 90. But
But
we can
that's
bump these number over 100.
right. That's not taking into account. This I think was just the dice roll and not the.
Yeah, like I said, I hadn't factored in any bonuses, so we'll
Sure.
definitely tweak these as we
Sure, it's a
roll
good
dice.
baseline though. I like the format of how it scales though. Um,
Like the critical fail and the critical success can stay, but you have to explain that those are raw dice rolls, and then the fail, the partial success, and the success are based on your dice roll plus modifiers. Does that make sense?
or it can be just a flat number value.
Yeah, if we can just raise the limit on what a critical success means, and then go make the maximum 140.
Because if you're trying too hard of a task and you're too undertrained, that way even if you roll 100, it still doesn't matter. You still don't pass the DC.
Yeah. I'll
Yeah,
come
but
back to
isn't
these because I know we're running out of time for today, but I'll
Sure.
come back to these.
Okay.
And feel free to make your own adjustments. and I'll redo this scale for based on 140 as the maximum.
How are we doing proficiencies too?
Um, as far as on this chart, or
Just in general,
because we
because
had talked
that
about
might.
proficiency points as
We already,
proficiency in a skill being something you buy with XP.
yeah, we have proficiency points. You wrote that down.
Right,
That's
but
the
how
way.
is that going to affect the score?
So if you buy 1 point, you go from untrained to novice.
It just affects which chart you're
Oh,
working
that's
on.
the
Right?
chart thing. Duh. Okay. Yeah,
Right.
so it should be out of 140 then.
Yeah, if we're assuming 20 is the max on any one skill, then 140 would be your highest. So yeah, we can adjust these numbers to be a scale of 1 to 140.
You could
Yeah.
probably just like figure out the percentile difference between 100 and 140, like divide the number and then apply that
Oh yeah, just
decimal to
increase
each
every number by 140%.
by a 0.6 or whatever the number would be, like of the or 0.14 or whatever it is.
Oh, this
Just
chart
scale it up.
like has to be worked out. Like it needs place testing as well to
Yeah.
see how it works and everything. But we have a good baseline now. With everything we talked about, I have to rewatch the stream during the week and make some more notes. Next to the notes we have in the book you already wrote down, but I can actually start making some baseline things like some concepts for races, concept for classes, and next week we can discuss that. And maybe in 2-3 weeks we can do a playtest stream if we find people that are willing to play something very mechanically and playtesty.
Yeah, with the play testing, what I was saying was if people want to take the initiative, I'm not going to tell anybody they can't, but I'm not going to push us to do playtesting until we actually have a lot more stuff done. So if you want to do that or people want to do it and give us their feedback, that's great. But we're still so far infancy stage. I know you've been excited to want to try to play test. I mean, we got another year plus for this. You know what I mean? Like honestly, I think playtesting, organized playtesting, comes later in the process.
Oh yeah, the organized playtesting, but for me it is like giving some people like when we have developed a little bit more on like the character sheet, give some people make some characters. Let's see what you can do and what feedback you have, because the earlier we get feedback and the earlier people test things, the less we have to change. Like if we build upon things we already built and then do play testing and then have to change something, that might also change other things. So it would like like with a stack of with a how do you say, a tower of cards. Like if you change one thing at the bottom, the whole thing collapses. That idea.
But I mean, to play test, you need to have built an entire character, which we don't even have yet. We don't have the
Not
races
yet.
fleshed out. We don't have any of the classes fleshed out. We don't have any of the elemental magics fleshed out. We don't have any of those things. And say a character is made, okay, that's great. But then to play test, you would need to be able to then play the character. We don't have enough of the lore figured out. We don't know the spaceports. We don't know how the ships work. We don't know how the weapons work. We don't know how the armor. You know what? So what I'm saying is, if you want to do any of those things, you can. But proper playtesting, there needs to be enough stuff to actually play a game, like a one shot. And we're
Yeah.
nowhere near. We are months and months and months
That
away from being able to do a one shot to actually
that's
ask
true.
people to play test. That's what I was getting at. So
That's
I know
true.
it's exciting, and I know you want to do it, but this is my first rodeo. We've done this a lot. Like, there's a reason why it comes later. Yes,
Yeah.
we don't want it to be the last thing we do because things get changes, but there's enough things that we can pool our experience in and make hypothesis about, right? That these things will most likely result in this, and like that table thing, the the factors might change. The quantity, like the actual, is it 97 to 100? No, it should be 94 to 100. That doesn't change the game being playable. You know what I mean? Like having each of these things there to play, and then we tweak figures and not necessarily go back and change how a biohacker works. To playtest, I think we should flesh out what can a biohacker do? What spells does it have? What kind of things? What role does it play? What are the skills that you get? And then the play testing results is tweaking figures. Anyway,
Yeah, okay. You're right. You're
balance.
right.
It's balance changes at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. No, for me it is like, oh, we have some base mechanic. I can run a one shot that's very mechanically. But
Sure.
yeah, that wouldn't be very fun because like you're missing the story. Like I can just give some arbitrary numbers to races and classes, and we can play something, but it doesn't represent the game because we haven't established those things yet.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're right. We're probably a few months out from actually the first play testing.
Sure. Cool.
Get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. Well, we're gonna call it because we're past the 3.5 hour mark. If you guys are applicants or interested in joining the team, we are in our Discord taking applications, and we'll set up orientations where we can meet you. Just because there's 3 of us here doesn't mean that's where we want to be. We're looking for story writers, game developers, editors, artists. If you like writing lore, if you like playtest, and there's so many things. This eventually is going to be a player handbook, a game master's guide, 5 modules, and there's lots that are going to take place. We got a good stint of it for concepts phased out, but every week on Saturday mornings at, well, at least for now, Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. Pacific. The time may be changing. I don't want to lose Joe or Bart, but this time slot is not going to keep working forever, but we'll keep doing it for as long as we can for another few weeks, and we'll let you guys know when we're going to change it. But yeah, join the Discord if you're new. If you want to catch up on the past episodes, this is episode 3. The first 2 episodes are on the YouTube. This one will be uploaded as well. If you guys like playing tabletop games, Sundays 6:30 p.m. We have Aegis Pass, ran by AJ. On Tuesday we have Horsemen of the Apocalypse, which is run by myself. Wednesdays we have Rise of Unity, which is in its session 0 phases right now, so those are getting uploaded to YouTube, but the stream will come to the Twitch when the campaign actually starts. So we have another 2 or 3 games until that happens. But that'll be on Wednesday nights, and then also we have Guild Games, which is ran by some people on our staff. If you guys join the Guild channel in the Discord and say when you're available, we've opened it up to anybody. Normally it's pay to play, but we're knocking that off, so anybody can come in. So if you guys want to play with any of us here on the channel, we'd love to take you. And let's see what else. There was one other thing. Oh, Warhammer 40k. There is in the works of trying to get a Warhammer game to the channel as well. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that'll work out. We got people they've been playing some games and giving some feedback, and hopefully that takes off to where it can become a thing. But if none of that interests you, hopefully we catch you next week here with world building for Total Tabletop. And do either of you guys have anything to mention before we go?
Just come by the Discord, whether you're interested for sure or not, because we're a bunch of cool people, I like to think. I'm glad I stuck around after I first showed up. Got to know some people. We're pretty active on there, so you'll have some good stuff to talk about. And I forget if you mentioned merch, but we have merch. There's a link on the Twitch page. Go buy stuff.
Yeah. Coffee mugs, t-shirts, sweatshirts, stickers, lots of cool stuff. Another way to support the channel is also subscribing, which will help you guys on the chat side. You guys, for the mini games, will get more points and percentages for things, and you get cool emotes and stuff like that. Awesome.
Yeah, for me, if you have any questions, I'm active on Discord most of the time. In the Discord, I go on the Roxas. I handle the intake of applications. So if you have any questions about that, just message me, and I can give you an answer. The application can be found in the Discord under world building, and then it's pinned. So if you're interested, that's where to go for to fill in an application. If you have any questions beforehand, message me or Sean or Joe. But as far as I know, I will be probably the quickest to respond.
Okay. Awesome. Well, that's it for us. We'll see you guys next time.
Have a good day.
See ya.